Well, we're going to do something with the border, and very strong, very powerful. That'll
like, he's just doing the thing, right? This is what Trump just did. He just repeated like 5 slogans that mean nothing.
The fact that there are these allegations against him, misconduct, sexual misconduct, heavy drinking, the fact that he said to some senators reportedly he'll stop drinking if he gets this job, does that worry you?
Wait. Oh, no, hold on.
We shouldn't be subsidizing. Why are we subsidizing these countries? If we're going to subsidize them, let them become a state.
What?
Sir, you said during the campaign you had concepts of a plan. Do you have an actual plan at this point for health care?
Yes.
Oh my God, he does?
We have concepts of a plan that would...
President-elect Donald Trump, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for being here. You are the first president since Grover Cleveland.
Oh, it's even infected the mainstream media. Did this come from alternative media or did it come from mainstream media first? I just don't understand what you gain from putting cameras on these stupid moving bars. What are you adding? It's so stupid.
Thank you so much for being here. You are the first president since Grover Cleveland to win non-consecutive terms. Republicans now have control of the House and the Senate.
Right.
What do you plan to accomplish in your first 100 days in office?
Well, we're going to do something with the border, and very strong, very powerful. That'll be our first signal, and a first signal to America that we're not playing games. We have people coming in by the millions, as you know, and a lot of people shouldn't be here. Most of them shouldn't be here, but we have jails being emptied into our country. We have mental institutions from all over the world being emptied into our country. So we'll be doing that. We're going to be extending within that period, or as soon as we can, the Trump tax cuts, because, you know, they're coming due and they're very substantial for people. And it would be very, I think it will anger a lot of people, frankly, if we don't get an extension of that. That's what led us to one of the greatest economies ever. And
some guy emailed me, it's so stupid. This is all I hear now. I think this is right. We need to just do this. I don't even want to, God, this is so boring. It's all good. I just need to go back to video games. I watched the clip of you reading the email that uses a motorcycle hobby analogy in the context of modern social media to explain how politics is just slogans, quote unquote, now. I'm concerned that you're going down a path of rediscovering things that have been true in this country for a long time, so it's best to read from people who've already done the heavy lifting for you. The following is a quote from a book published in 2003. More details down below. Words italicized are mine. To add clarifying context, I can't add it all in here. Quote, democracy does have decisive advantages, at least for the wealthy, secure societies, over alternative forms of government. But they are not advantages that depend on deliberation, on analogies to scientific inquiry, on a lively and informed public interest in public issues, or in civic mindedness. People's interests, preferences, and opinions influence government, certainly through the electoral process and otherwise, but not in the way that views expressed in a faculty meeting influence faculty decisions through debate and pooling of ideas. The roles of the people at large in the governance of a large democratic nation is a mere shadow of its role in the concept of deliberative democracy. People know when things are going well or going badly, and then he adds, to the extent that things are as they believe them to be, whether for themselves personally or for the nation as a whole. Their own welfare is, of course, bound up with the nation's and will vote accordingly, but that's about it. The political parties know this, and so their campaigns appeal mainly to interests rather than the good, and do so largely in simplistic slogans, end quote. The author goes on to argue that it wouldn't even be desirable to aim for an idealistic system where people as a whole are, quote, better informed, end quote, and become better engaged with information/media, and it makes a pretty compelling case for its position. This is a passage from the book Law, Pragmatism, and Democracy by Richard Posner, a former Seventh Circuit judge from the Court of Appeals. This is probably the best book that explains American democracy with a focus on pragmatism. If you were to read it, you would immediately see a clear path forward. You're wasting a lot of time being surprised by Vivek, Musk, Trump, Rogan, Techno Bros, Tim Pool, etc., spreading fake news and easy to understand slogans. Yes, they are doing it on purpose, and no, they are not stupid. Okay, Rogan is stupid, but he is a useful puppet, and his podcast is a gold mine for these people and the IDW type folk. I would be surprised to find out that they didn't talk about Rogan being an idiot behind closed doors. You're being dumber than them by not accepting that this is how things things work, and you have to start employing their strategies if you want to stand a chance. Remember that webcam video of Ben Shapiro soying out at Tim Walz after he was chosen as Kamala's running mate? That's what conservatives see when they see you soying out about Rogan saying the millionth dumb shit. They just think it's funny. Quote, I'm going to build a wall, and Mexico is going to pay for it, end quote. 2 sentences, that's it. Sometimes 3, but more than that, you've lost people. Use their example. To be clear, I'm not saying that you should lie and spread fake news, but your messaging needs to become way more reductive. Reserve explanations or substantive conversations/debates with people like Pisco or the unicorn conservatives like the tax guy who engage in good faith. Oh, I think he's referring to a debate I had a couple weeks ago. If they're not in this category, flip a switch and go into sophistry mode. Your over-reliance on intellectual or logical or nuanced defenses and attacks is starting to look like an issue of display of ego because it's clear that using dumb language would be more effective. Let it go and be effective. Example, to Tim Pool or Rubin, quote, you're a Russian puppet and you got paid because Russia loves your anti-American message, end quote. Whatever the reply is, the best strategy is to repeat that slogan. That's what Tim Pool would be doing to you. Don't let opportunities like this slip away. I think this is kind of how, I think this is the position that I kind of stumbled upon when I realized, like, for the media, like, you have to just find a simple thing and repeat it, like, on peers, like, what is this? Answer this. What is this? This was bad. This is dumb. This is bad. Like, and it just needs to be that. Because I think going any further than that is just a waste of time, which is sad and stupid. This is what Trump just did. He just repeated, like, 5 slogans that mean nothing. Like, what is, like...
from all over the world being emptied into our country. So
jails are being emptied into our country. Insane people are coming over. They don't belong here. Build the wall, tax cuts, and like that's it. It's just like nothing here is. Everything here is.
Grover Cleveland to win non-consecutive terms. Republicans now have control.
He never expands on it. I feel like what Donald Trump has done is I feel like we all kind of like played a game. And then we all, but we pretend that we're not playing the game. And then Donald Trump is like, wait a second, this is just a game, right? So I can just like do this, right? And then it's like, well, we're not supposed to do it like that. But I mean, I guess you technically could. You know what it kind of reminds me of? In the 90s and 2000s, I guess, like people loved like the huge tittied chick with like fake boobs, right? It was a thing. It was a look for a while before the girl next door then kind of became popular. But like people loved that fake boober, the Pamela Andersons and all the plastic surgery shit. But people would always say, or at least my recollection is people would be like, I want a chick with huge tits, right? And then you'd be like, you know her tits are fake, right? And be like, no, I just want huge tits or whatever. I want huge fucking knockers, huge boobs, okay? But in 2024, living in Miami Beach, guys don't even say, and I understand this is like a hyper crazy part of the world, but like guys here won't even say, I want a girl with huge tits, wink, wink, or I want a girl with a huge ass, wink, wink. They'll be like, I want the BBL. I want the fake tits. Like they call out for that directly. And it's very interesting to see kind of the shift, at least down here in Miami Beach. I don't know if this has like made its way to other parts of the country or world or podcast space or whatever, but I'm like, interesting. But that's not what your audience is built on. We like being well informed and not getting dumb, simplistic messaging, so it doesn't really apply to you, does it? Well, no, not on my stream. I wouldn't just sloganeer on my stream, but I would, like when I prepare for debates, I should be preparing for debates more like that. If you really think about all the debates I've had, all of my most like epic own moments are usually me asking a very simple question or making a very simple point. Like with the Owen Schroyer thing, it was the dinosaur question. Or it was like, what's the difference between a democracy and a republic? Do you even know what that is? Like, it's usually like, I can't think of any own moments like where it's like, oh, epic shit, where it's like Destiny lays out complicated and nuanced explanation of a thing. And then the person gets on. Usually they just like move on and it doesn't even stick. The Ukraine speech was good. Yeah, but that wasn't a debate really, right? I was just like I was just narrativizing basically, which is good too. Narrativizing is something I need to do as well. It's narrativizing and then punchy lines. Like if I know more or if I know something and the person's not ready for me to know it, then they just like move on. It's like, oh, okay. And then they just move on. It's like, wait, I don't even feel like I got a good own here. It just, wait, what just happened? What was the point? What was the point of this? I didn't get anything for this.
Come into this country, come in. It's not complex.
And then to be clear, you think that that's the case right now?
That's the case right now. And that is the case what the Democrats want. That is correct.
So
They have sanctuary cities all over my state.
Excuse me, sanctuary city has nothing to do with immigration
Oh,
policy.
sure as it does. If you are here illegally, we will not allow ICE or anyone else to take you away. You can come. That's what sanctuary city means.
That is not what a sanctuary city is. That's not what a sanctuary. Sure, I can tell you what it means. When it comes to enforcing immigration, that is exclusively in the purview of the United States government. Now, it tends to be the case that if you're a state official, you can collect information about whether or not a person's here legally or not. And if you want, you can turn that information over to federal authorities like Immigrations and Customs Enforcement or like Department of Homeland Security. You don't have an obligation to do so. And some cities explicitly say we won't. So a sanctuary city is just a city where they arrest you. They're not going to do an immigration check. And if you fail, they're going to turn you over to the federal authorities. As somebody that is a conservative, who I imagine would have an appreciation for the concept of federalism, but the important protections of states' rights, because that's what we said when we threw abortion back to the states, you should champion a state deciding whether or not they would want to cooperate with a federal authority when it comes to turning somebody over for matters of deportation. But essentially, so like on paper, okay, well, so he thought I didn't know what this meant. Not only do I know what it means, I also know why he's wrong, and I know why it's contradictory to his own ideology. You're a conservative. You believe in states' rights. Why would you sit here and be bullying individual states to comply with the federal government or something they don't agree with, right? So I feel like this is pretty, but it doesn't really hit or matter because he's just like, oh, okay, and then we just move on. Sanctuary city does not legalize illegal immigration. It's just whether or not a city wants to cooperate with federal investigators when it comes to turning over an undocumented citizen or immigrant.
Fine. Okay, we can continue.
Do you agree with that, Dennis? I mean, what was the point of that? I should have just called him like a fucking loser. I should have said you're a loser with glasses or something. I don't know. Like, what was it? What was even the point of that? I didn't even get like there's no catharsis. It's like, oh, okay, well, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I guess maybe it comes off as an own, but. The optics were good here, no? Yeah, I guess, but he just like moves on. Just like, oh, okay, I don't know, man. Whatever.
Of the House and the Senate.
Right.
What do you plan to accomplish in your first 100 days in office?
Well, we're going to do something with the border, and very strong, very powerful. That'll
like he's just doing the thing, right? Like, what do we need to do about jobs? We need to give unions the power to make workers better. And so everybody can have better jobs and be working way better. Like, that's like his answer to everything. And it works.
100 days in office.
Well, we're going to do something with the border, and very strong, very powerful. That'll be our first signal, and a first signal to America that we're not playing games. We have people coming in by the millions, as you know, and a lot of people shouldn't be here. Most of them shouldn't be here, but we have jails being emptied into our country. We have mental institutions from all over the world being emptied into our country. So we'll be doing that. We're going to be extending within that period, or as soon as we can, the Trump tax cuts, because, you know, they're coming due and they're very substantial for people. And it would be very, I think it will anger a lot of people, frankly, if we don't get an extension of that. That's what led us to one of the greatest economies ever. And those two things are going to be very vital, very important. We're going to be focusing on crime in the cities, and we'll work with Democrat governors. Most of them are, as you know, if you look at the 25 worst places, they're just about all Democrat-controlled cities and states. And we're going to be working with Democrat governors and Democrat mayors. And I look forward to doing it. But we have to do something about crime, and mostly in our cities.
Like, what do you, like, yeah, tell us what we're supposed to do. What do you mean? What do you mean we have to do something about what? Like, do what? Oh, my God. This guy in chat just said, have you realized that Family Guy was always right about politics? And I already know what you linked without even clicking it. I'm going to copy link address, and I already know what it is. It's Lewis saying 9/11, isn't it?
What do you plan to do about crime in our city?
A lot. 9/11 was bad.
What are your plans for cleaning up our environment?
9/11.
What about our traffic problem?
9/11.
And we're going to have a lot of other things. We'll be working on nominations. We're going to still be working on some nominations. I think they're going very well. We have, for the most part, I think they're going extremely well. It looks like Peter's doing well now. I mean, people were a little bit concerned. He's a young guy with a tremendous track record, actually. He went to Princeton and went to Harvard. He was a good student at both, but he loves the military, and I think people are starting to see it. So we'll be working on his nomination along with a lot of others.
We are going to...
Like, what is the responsibility of the media here, I guess? Like, I don't know. Like, this sounds to me... Have you ever... Where are my writers at? You ever get an essay in class, and it's like, what were the 3 most important determinative factors in the beginning of World War I? And you're like, oh, and it's like, In the early 1900s, there were a lot of things happening in Europe. And many societies and people viewed these things in different ways. There were a number of these situations that increased tensions across multiple countries that caused people to lose faith in the alliances that they had formed and led to the countries becoming involved in war with each other. Many countries believed that, you're okay, syntactically, grammatically it works, but you're not saying anything. You're like, how much? Oh my God, okay, it's a 10-point question. I'm going for 6. I know I can get 6 points if I can just write enough words. Because what you do is, if you had the naive teachers, because you'd write bullshit like this, and then a teacher might be grading it, and they might call you up and they're like, what did you mean when you said this? Because you can look it up after. It's like, oh, well, when I said some countries might have issues, that what I was referring to, because then you like read it after the class, like, okay, it was about this. Like, oh no, obviously, I'm sorry, I should have been more specific here, right? Oh, I wasn't specific. I'm sorry, I didn't really want something with more specificity. But you're just making shit up, and you know it. But I guess people just don't realize this, or they don't. I don't know, man.
We'll be working on his.
These are S-tier procrastination and bullshitting strats that only people with ADHD know? No, this has to be an ordinary student thing. I'm sure every student does the bullshitting. Like, you can write a whole ass bullshit ass essay on like sample essay question, anthropology of Rome, final exam. Okay. Like, this would be some shit where you haven't like prepared at all. Okay. How have mortuary practices changed from the Middle Paleolithic to modern civilizations? How in particular have human mortuary practices come to be used as a means of marking social distinctions? Mortuary, I think, is dead people, right? The modern approach to the treatment of deceased people has dramatically changed throughout the years, alongside other cultural factors that influence how we view death. In the past, people treated their dead in a way that largely coincided with the individual and cultural beliefs held by those societies at the time. But in modern times, we have different sets of standards influenced more by things like science and health. I don't know. Like, I could write like 3 pages of an answer, but I'm not saying anything. I don't know any of the answer. I have no idea. But you can just like bullshit, right? And you bullshit. You do an answer like this when the question is worth 10 points and you don't know the answer, but you want to go for like 4 to 6 points. You know you can get like 4 to 6 points as long as you just like bullshit with enough vague generalities like this. But like, there are certain teachers, right? Once I did. Like, I could do this in my early English classes, but then in my AP English classes, you couldn't get away with an answer like this. Because the teacher would look at you and be like, tell me one, like, fact. Give me one thing of substance that you've said here. And you're like, fuck, I don't know. Or they'll ask you, like, a specific, and you're like, I don't fucking know. Like, the teacher knew when you were bullshitting. But, like this answer is clearly bullshit, right? That was my strategy through the school systems with the UK and Georgia, and I finished with great grades without basically knowing anything. A little bit late, but you should have asked Piers about the Hunter Biden if he still would have had an issue with it if Joe always said he'd pardon him. You know him, and these conservatives still would have bitched about it, probably, yeah.
His nomination, along with a lot of others.
We are going to delve into your nominations, but since you bring
delve? Good one.
him up, do you still have confidence in Pete Hegseth?
Yes, I do. I really do. He's a very smart guy. I've known him through Fox, but I've known him for a long time. And he's basically a military guy. I mean, every time I talk to him, all he wants to talk about is the...
Kind of related, is this messaging not an education issue? Like, Americans are dumb due to poor education standards and bad practices. So in a way, the Republicans are right about the Department of Education being dog shit. However, their solution is worse. don't know if this is an education issue because I think people know this. I think it's, you know what? I actually said this a long time ago. I've believed this for a long time. I probably said this like 10 plus years ago, that I think one of the most important qualities that a human being can have is curiosity. Because I think what curiosity does is it extends, I think what curiosity really is it's an extension of your critical thinking skills into areas that aren't directly something that you deal with every single day in a specialized manner. So for instance, if I was like a car mechanic or something, and, you know, I was asking a guy, like, what kind of spark plugs do I need or some shit, and a guy gave like a bullshit ass answer, I'd be like, bro, what the are you talking about? Or like, I need to know what type of oil this car takes. I don't know what you're saying right now. This is bullshit. But then as soon as it comes to an area that's right outside of your direct specialization, people's brains like shut off and they don't apply those same critical things. It's like, oh yeah, that sounds great. Whatever the you said sounds great. I think that's the issue, I think. Yeah.
The military. He's a military guy. I used to kid him about it. I didn't think it would be in this position where he may be, hopefully will be Secretary of Defense. But every time I was with him, he was fighting for soldiers, where he said some soldier was unjustly put in prison because they were really doing what they were taught to do. He may be a military guy. Do you
think that curiosity can be taught or learned, or do you think it's an innate trait of a person? I don't. I have no idea. I'm not sure. Are there more curious societies? I'm not sure.
Military guy. I mean, every time I talk to him, all he wants to talk about is the military. He's a military guy. I used to kid him about it. I didn't think it would be in this position where he may be, hopefully will be Secretary of Defense. But every time I was with him, he was fighting for soldiers, where he said some soldier was unjustly put in prison because they were really doing what they were taught to do, in some cases. So, yeah, I think he's going to do fine.
The fact that...
What is he... Is he talking about the Blackwater people? During Trump's first term in office, Hegseth lobbied for the pardons of Army Lieutenant Clint Lawrence and Army Major Matthew Goldstein. This guy's name. This guy has spent every single year of his life a million times re-explaining how his name is spelled. Matthew? With one T? And then Goldstein, or Goldstein, okay, and they're like, okay, how do you spell this? G-O-L-D, no, not Goldstein, Goldstein, G-O-L-S, Goldstein, okay, Goldstein, G-O-L-S-T-E-I-N, right? No, G-O-L-S-T-E-Y-N, Goldstein, Jesus, what the fuck is his name? Matthew, one T, what? Why do you guys keep, I hate this, don't make me defend Hassan, don't make me defend Hassan, please stop making me defend Hassan. I don't ever want to be in this position where I have to defend Hassan. When Hassan tweets out here, oh hey everyone, it's time to care about dead babies in Syria, social media told me so, isn't Hassan making fun of the fact that nobody in the West gives a fuck when Middle Easterners are dying, except for whenever there's some story in the media and now you're supposed to care? Isn't that what, this is what the tweet is saying, no? Everybody keeps bringing this up, like Hassan is saying that, like, dead babies in Syria, we only have to care about them because the media is saying. Why? I don't know why you retards keep bringing this up, like Hassan hates Syria. Now, you can argue that he hates Syrians because he supported Assad in a different manner, but this is not, I don't think that's what this tweet is. He doesn't think he's doing the thing. He's doing that, but he is. He doesn't think he's doing that, but he is, so the tweet is ironic. Okay. I don't think that's why most people are making fun of this tweet. There is a way that you can see this tweet as being funny because he only cares about, I don't think that's what's going on here. Pretty sure people just think he's being anti-whatever Syrian civilian, but okay. Does him supporting Assad paint that in a different light completely? No, I think him supporting Assad is bad. I think that is what you would say is like leading to the, I think, a very anti-Arab position, but I don't think people read that tweet rightly.
There are these allegations against...
It's like, it reminds me of that one woman who got canceled. I think it was like one of the first big like Twitter cancellations of all time, where there was this like pretty progressive lady, I think, and she tweeted out something like, going to Africa, hope I don't get AIDS, just kidding, I'm white. Well, I think this was supposed to be like a tongue-in-cheek making fun of her kind of like white privilege, but then this got, I think this got interpreted as like, oh, excuse me? AIDS is for black people. And then, yeah. And then I think her life was basically destroyed once she landed from this flight. She was the Anne Frank of our generation. True. How did Justine Sacco get a PR job? Her level of racist ignorance belongs to Fox News. I'm confused why I'm seeing far-right people defend Assad. Isn't their entire position that white people shouldn't care about the Middle East? Like, I've seen like 4 neo-Nazis support Assad on Twitter. What's going on right now? Bro, the Middle East is literally a choose-your-own-adventure story. Or it's like ad libs almost. Like, you can pick any leader you want in the Middle East and you can support them basically from any political ideology depending upon which set of facts that you choose. So if I was a neo-Nazi, I would back Assad and I would back Syria because the Assads are based. They never made peace with Israel. They never trusted those fucking Jews. They're always working in conjunction with people like Hezbollah. They haven't even formally settled borders with the fucking Jewish people. Unlike Egypt and Jordan that cucked out to Israel, they still maintain their active front with them. Like, well, it was a DMZ, but like, I mean, like you can, so I mean, from that perspective, if you're a neo-Nazi, you could support Assad for that reason, I guess. Yeah, you can always find, again, in the Middle East, there's always a reason to support any group depending on how retarded you want to be.
No, I think he's going to do fine.
The fact that there are these allegations against him, misconduct, sexual misconduct, heavy drinking, the fact that he said to some senators reportedly he'll stop drinking if he gets this job, does that worry you?
Wait. Is this the Hegseth guy or whatever? You said he'll stop drinking? Wait, what? Is she talking about Hegseth here? Is he an alcoholic? Is he an alcoholic or wait, what is that? There's a great Onion article headline, Their Destiny, Alcoholic Secretary of State vows to enter rehab on confirmation. He's an alcoholic rapist. Well, like he only rapes when he's drunk, or? Now, if he did have a drinking problem, that would be obvious, but to make something out of it that isn't there just because he's going through Secretary of Defense, the media should be ashamed of themselves. What? Just as a heads up, okay, take this as a life advice thing. Don't look at chat because chat's going to steer you wrong because people don't know anything about alcoholics or drinking in my community, okay? If somebody is an alcoholic, all right, that can be very difficult to tell from the outside if you don't spend a lot of time with them. People can be incredibly wasted and you don't have any idea whatsoever, other than maybe smelling it on their breath. But yeah, especially people who are alcoholics. These people can put away an ungodly amount of alcohol, and you wouldn't even know that they're drunk. You would have no idea whatsoever that the person you're talking to has like a massive blood alcohol content. So the idea that you would just know if somebody's a drunk, I mean, if you spend enough time with them or if you live with them or whatever, you can see this bleed out in their life in other ways. But that goes for a lot of drugs too. Maybe. I wouldn't be able to speak on that experience. I'm not sure. I don't know if it goes for a lot of drugs, actually. The thing is, once you're an alcoholic, you almost need a certain amount of alcohol just to be stable. Like, you're going to seem more unhinged without alcohol than you are with alcohol. But I guess, no, that's probably true for a lot of different addictions, actually. Like, I'm thinking like cigarette smokers without the cigarettes go crazy, or like House without his Vicodin goes crazy. So, yeah, that might be the case, yeah.
Can stop. Some people can stop eating. I'm lucky I'm not a drinker, but I could stop eating. And we all want to stop doing something. And if he said that, I mean, that's a nice thing to say. That's a good.
Like, let's just listen to all. I'm sorry. This is just the game, I guess. Now I feel like a retard. This is probably the whole time, and I'm just retarded. And this is just always what it is. You just like say random. This is just it. Now I want to try to do like an hour interview where I just answer questions like this.
No, I think that everybody has something that they can stop. Some people can stop eating. I'm lucky I'm not a drinker, but I could stop eating. And we all want to stop doing something. And if he said that, I mean, that's a nice thing to say. That's a good thing to say. But he's very respected. I can tell you, I know a lot of the people at Fox, they think he's fantastic. And the people that work with him, really, they love him. So I think you're going to have somebody that's really terrific.
I actually knew an extremely high-functioning heroin addict, and nobody else knew until he died from getting fent in his bag when it first hit the scene. Yeah, people don't, because we talk so stupidly about drugs. Like, you can be a high-functioning addict of almost any kind of drug. Like, there are lots of people that do heroin or amphetamines or whatever regularly and abuse them and can still go on to, like, have relatively ordinary lives, work their jobs or whatever. I mean, you're paying a great health toll, and you're taking a big risk by doing this because there are a bunch of side effects, like knock-on effects to your health that will happen. But yeah, a lot of people think that, like, oh, you do this drug once and you're gone, you're gonna die. And typically, unless you're getting something incredibly potent that you weren't aware of, like fentanyl, or if you have like some other complication, like a health thing that is uncovered by doing a drug that kills you, like generally it doesn't happen. Yeah. Don't mistake that. That's not a encouragement to do drugs. Just to be aware of. You should be aware of like the effects of, drugs.
And the people that work with him, really, they love him. So I think you're going to have somebody that's really terrific. And again, all he talked about with me, I said, you're not really a television guy, even though he did very well, as you know. You're really a military guy. He said, I'm all about the military. And I told him, so he's making a lot of money at Fox. They're doing very well. And I said, if for some reason you don't get this thing, you're not going to be able to go back. And all that money you're making, you can kiss it goodbye. He said, this is all about America. He didn't say, well, let me think about it, let me discuss it. That's a very big, risky thing he's doing. When he goes and he says, I'm going to give up, millions of dollars in order to possibly become the Secretary of Defense. A lot of people would say it's a great position. It's probably almost no greater position, but a lot of people would say, I have to think about it. He said, I don't have to think about it.
All right, we're going to delve into...
Like, why does he get to answer a question like that? Why are you allowed to do that? That's crazy, man.
Your cabinet picks a little bit later, but I want to delve into one of your signature promises on the campaign trail, which was to end inflation, to lower prices. You are now proposing tariffs against the United States' three biggest trading partners. Economists of all stripes say that ultimately consumers pay the price of tariffs.
I don't believe
Can
it.
you guarantee American families won't pay more?
I can't guarantee anything. I can't guarantee.
What are you even here for? What the fuck?
Guarantee tomorrow. But I can say that if you look at just pre-COVID, we had the greatest economy in the history of our country. And I had a lot of tariffs on a lot of different countries, but in particular China. We took in hundreds of billions of dollars, and we had no inflation. In fact, when I handed it over, they didn't have inflation for a year and a half. They went almost 2 years just based on what I had created.
Destiny, surely you also acknowledge that being an alcoholic in particular affects the cognitive state in a guy that has to probably have a clear state of mind almost 24/7. I just think that's not okay. I don't actually know. I'm not sure. I'm sure it must. It must. But like, as somebody who has spent time with alcoholics, I'm just telling you, I had no clue what an alcoholic was like until I like spent a few days with one. Bro, this person must have put away like 15 to 20 mixed drinks in a day. I would have never known they were drunk. I had no idea, no concept of it. I didn't even realize it. I'm just like, what do we, and it's like wake up and it's like, let's go to breakfast. And then it's like 3 mimosas. And I'm like, what the f? And then from there to the bar, I'm like, holy shit, you're insane. But the person is just like, they're lucid and they seem pretty normal the whole time. I'm sure it must be less optimal in terms of IQ, or I would imagine, but I mean, like, you're a human being. Your brain is a wonderfully complicated thing, capable of learning and exercising so many tasks. Like, you probably don't need that much of it to just like get through the day and like work or whatever, right? Like, you probably shouldn't be flying an airplane, but like, could you do an ordinary job while being an alcoholic? Possibly. But like, yeah.
And then they created inflation with energy and with spending too much. So I think I'm a big believer in tariffs. I think tariffs are the most beautiful word. I think they're beautiful. It's going to make us rich. We're subsidizing Canada to the tune of over $100 billion a year. We're subsidizing Mexico for...
Like, what does that mean? We're subsidizing Canada. No, hold on. He doesn't mean a trade deficit, right? The United States has a services trade surplus. Wait. This is 50 billion. Is he saying a subsidy is when the government spends money on a particular thing? Is he saying that a trade deficit is a subsidy?
Word, I think they're beautiful. It's going to make us rich. We're subsidizing Canada to the tune of over $100 billion a year. We're subsidizing Mexico for almost $300 billion. We shouldn't be subsidizing. Why are we subsidizing these countries? If we're going to subsidize them, let them become a state.
What is he talking about? What? What? We all know that's what he's saying. How are you social? I've never heard him describe trade deficits as subsidies before. Wait, what the fuck?
We're subsidizing Mexico, and we're subsidizing Canada, and we're subsidizing many countries all over the world. And all I want to do is I want to have a level, fast, but fair playing field.
Sir, your previous tariffs during your first administration.
Why is he allowed to just say that? What?
Cost Americans some $80 billion. And now you have major companies from Walmart, Black & Decker, AutoZone saying that any tariffs are going to force them to drive up prices for their consumers. How do you make sure that these CEOs, that these companies don't, in fact, pass on the cost of tariffs to their consumers?
They cost Americans nothing.
Okay, just to be clear, it's not even...
Pass on the cost of tariffs to their consumers.
They cost Americans nothing. They made a great economy for us. They also solve another problem. If we were going to have problems having to do with wars and having to do with other things, tariffs, I have stopped wars with tariffs by saying, you guys want to fight, it's great, but both of you are going to pay tariffs to the United States at 100%.
Is he talking about sanctions? Or what is he... You were going to say not necessarily? No, I'm just... The whole point of a tariff is to make something more expensive. It's like telling a guy, you're benching 135 now. By the end of 2 months, you're going to be benching 225, and you're not going to even... It's not even going to be more weight. It's going to be the same weight. You're going to be benching 225. You're doing 130, it's 225. It's going to be the same weight as 135. Like, the whole point of a tariff is to make something more expensive. That's the entire point. And that makes it less competitive with something else. If a tariff doesn't increase a price, then a tariff isn't actually doing anything. That's the whole point. That is the actual stated goal of a tariff. Like, if he can manufacture something for $10, he can manufacture something for $7, and he can manufacture something for $5. This guy's China, this guy's Canada, and this is America. And you're going to tariff everybody so that it costs $10 to manufacture the particular thing. That's what a tariff does. Now, this guy can hop in and start manufacturing stuff, right? Oh, shit, the price is high enough? Well, it's worth it for me to step in and start competing. But that means that people aren't buying it for $5. They're not buying it for $7. Now they're all buying it for $10. That's the whole point of a tariff. That's the entire point of a tariff. If it's not raising prices, it's not doing anything.
And they have many purposes, tariffs, if properly used. I don't say you use them like a madman. I say properly.
They use them like don't use them like a madman, he says, after we spent a year saying tariff is the most beautiful word I've ever heard. Does Trump know this and he's just lying? I don't think Trump knows. I think Trump is actually an idiot. The people around him probably know, but...
Tariffs, if properly used. I don't say you use them like a madman. I say properly used. But it didn't cost this country anything. It made this country money, and we never really got the chance to go all out because we had to fight COVID in the last part, and we did it very successfully. And when I handed it over to Biden, the stock market was higher than what it was just previous to COVID coming in. It was actually higher.
What profession in America do you think has the highest suicide rate? Isn't it supposed to be like vets or something? Who benefits from tariffs? Why would someone tell them to do tariffs? Tariffs benefit local manufacturers. Had the stock market rebounded enough? I think it might have. It might have been at its all-time highs right after, I think. Biden came in on January 6th of 2020. Right? What are all these noises in my walls? Yeah, the markets had rebounded by then, I think, right? Okay.
Tariffs are properly used, are a very powerful tool.
That's a myth. It's not really vets. Highest suicide rate job. Major occupation groups with the highest suicide rates include construction and extraction, farming, fishing, and forestry, personal care and service, installation, maintenance, and repair, and arts, design, entertainment, sports, and media. I feel like you just listed every fucking job category. What the fuck exists outside of this? Well, the people that commit the most suicide are people that work in construction, extraction, farming, fishery, forestry, personal care and service, installation, maintenance, and repair. Okay, Jesus. But, okay, damn, rip. Okay, I guess the vet thing is just a fucking meme then. Why do you keep spamming this? You are ignoring the effects tariffs have on exchange rates. Tariffs devalue the currencies of the targeted country, making their exports cheaper and thus undermining the price increase. I don't know what you're talking about. The tariff is still going to make it so that you have to pay a certain amount to import it. So nothing you're saying matters or makes sense. What you're saying doesn't make sense. You tariff something, so then their currency devalues and then you buy it for the same price? What are you talking about? Now look at the jobs with the highest substance addiction rates. Streamer.
Not only economically, but also for getting other things outside of economics.
Well, again, prices did go up on some goods in your first administration, washing machines, tires. Will you punish CEOs?
Let me just explain to you. No.
It doesn't have to increase prices. In some cases, it just decreases the profit margins. There's not... If you walk around trying to solve economic issues, assuming that there are just these massive profit margins that you can just eat into, and that's where you're going to solve your problems, you're delusional. You're never going to fix anything, okay? Remember, Sam Harris is referring to Trump as an evil Chauncey Gardner in your interview. It's from the movie Being There about a mentally challenged old man being confused for deep and becoming a politician. Okay.
You mentioned washing machines. So you look at Whirlpool in Ohio. I got a call from Jim Jordan, one of the greats, congressman from Ohio.
Why is he even doing this? What even is the real goal with this tariff stuff? I don't even know. I truly don't know. You're asking me to predict the actions of a fucking lunatic. I have no clue.
And he said, they're going out of business because South Korea and China are dumping washing machines into our country. And I put a 50% tariff on the washing machines coming in from China and South Korea. And Whirlpool and the companies that made washing machines, which are based in Ohio, largely based in Ohio, went through the roof. We saved thousands of jobs, tens of thousands of jobs. They were all going out of business because they were dumping washing machines.
Yet medium-sized companies can pay the CEOs $20 million per year, but sure, the profit margins are minimal limeo. So first of all, compensation for a CEO isn't part of the profit. Number one, that's a cost of doing business. So you're already fucking retarded. Number two, CEOs are paid that much because companies have decided that they're worth that much. You can tell them to pay them less if you want, but like a CEO that's making that much money is probably working in a company where the revenue is so high that even if you completely axed all the CEO pay, at the end of the day, it probably wouldn't even make that much of a difference to any like either employee compensation or cost to the consumer at the end, regardless. Like,
and when I put the tariffs on, they became successful businesses.
Honest question, because I'm retarded. Does a CEO determine their own salary? Probably not. It's probably going to be the board of directors that determine the salary of the CEO generally.
Washing machines. And when I put the tariffs on, they became successful businesses. No, it didn't. Not only didn't it cost people it made our country stronger and more powerful, and it kept jobs.
But how do you make sure that consumers don't wind up paying more? Will you punish CEOs who try to pass the cost of tariffs onto their customers?
Well, the market's going to take care of it. I mean, actually, the market takes care of it. And if it
And who decides what the board of directors make? Board of directors wouldn't get paid, would they? Right? I don't think so. Would they? I have no idea. I imagine they wouldn't, no?
doesn't, we adjust it somewhat.
If they do get paid, it's probably just a lowly salary, I would imagine. That would be my guess, but... Say €1 is worth $1 and you tariff European goods at 10%, the exchange rate changes and €1 might only be worth $0.9 now. So the price for the importer doesn't change. Why do you think that a tariff would necessarily, even if you tariff the entire market, why would you assume that would just cause the exchange rate to change like that? I don't know if that's necessarily true, because they also are still importing, exporting from other people as well. Also, if the exchange rate changes that dramatically, then you would have to tariff them even more. Otherwise, your tariffs aren't even doing anything. You're not even accomplishing anything. No?
But in the case of Whirlpool, or let's say companies that made washing machines, they were all being put out of business by the dumping from, in particular, South Korea and China. And when I put the tariffs on, very substantial tariffs, although peanuts compared to what people do to us, what countries do to us, it became a very, very powerful, successful company. Now, let's say I didn't do the tariffs. It would have gone out of business. You would have lost tens of thousands of jobs, and you don't include that in your equation. No, they make a lot of money. I'll go a step further. Tariffs are going to make our country rich. Tariffs are going to help us pay off $35 trillion in debt. Tariffs are going to make our country safe, because China, as an example, doesn't want to play games with us if we're going to do tariffs on them. They don't want to play games. And we have a lot of games being played on us right now.
Well, I think, and that takes me to my next question.
Yeah.
Are you actually going to impose these tariffs, or are they a negotiating tactic?
Well, I'll give you an example with...
Hello? Somebody just ring a bell in the background, like on the desk? Ding, did you hear that?
Games being played on us right now.
Well, I think, and that takes me to my next question.
Yeah.
Are you actually going to impose these tariffs, or are they a negotiating tactic?
Well, I'll give you an example with Canada.
I can see why this would be an appealing to a moron. Simplistic explanation speaks to American greatness. Doesn't cost me anything. Yeah, no, I know. It's the sloganeering. Tariff is good. Bring back manufacturing. Punish enemies. Build America. Great.
And in particular, Mexico, we have millions of people pouring into our country. You agree with that? I spoke with...
Are we going to do the asylum, emptying the prisons, and okay?
With both. I spoke with Justin Trudeau. In fact, he flew to Mar-a-Lago within about 15 seconds after the call ended. Yeah. He was at Mar-a-Lago. We were having dinner talking about it. I said, you have to close up your borders, because they're coming in the northern border, too, a lot. Not like the southern border, but they're coming in the Canadian border a lot. And
Even the Canadians are illegally coming. Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
Drugs are pouring in. Almost as importantly, drugs are pouring in. Maybe more importantly, drugs are pouring in at levels never seen before. 10 times what we had. They're just pouring in. We can't have open borders. And I said to the president of Mexico and to Justin Trudeau, if it doesn't stop, I'm going to put tariffs on your country at about 25%. That's a very substantial tariff. And in both cases, but in the case where it was really visible, within 10 minutes after that phone call, we noticed that the people coming across the border, the southern border.
If we did do all the manufacturing here instead of doing it for cheap overseas, wouldn't that help our economy over time? No, because your highest value add is further up the production chain. You don't want to manufacture basic goods here. You want to manufacture those overseas so that you can do the higher value adds and the more sophisticated and complicated manufacturing here at home. Now, if we had like 10% unemployment, a ton of people with nothing to do for work, then maybe there can be an argument for that type of work being here, but we don't. We've deployed basically our entire workforce. Like, we're all working on shit right now. We don't need to take away from our more productive labor and invest in less productive labor. It doesn't make any sense to do that.
Having to do with Mexico, they were at a trickle, just a trickle. It was, in fact, I call the border. See, unlike my opponent, I do call the border a lot. And I said, how's the border looking today? They said, there's nobody here. They couldn't believe it. The military stopped these.
But what do you do when people feel like there's high unemployment? I don't know. You just keep telling them there's not. I don't know. People are retarded. You just have to tell them how to feel about things, and eventually they'll feel it. That's what the Republicans have done. So just keep telling them, tell them how to feel, and eventually they'll feel it. That's been the Trump strategy.
Vast groups of people. You know, we call them caravans, but they had caravans of people, and they largely stopped them. Now, they're going to have to continue that, but if they don't continue, and the other thing I told them is no more drugs, and I told that to China, too. I had to deal with President Xi. Had the election.
Non-employee board members sometimes receive a retainer. Smaller companies don't tend to pay non-employee board members, but S&P 500 non-employee board members often get millions in compensation. For example, sometimes via stock or other mechanisms. I guess I don't know what you mean by via stock. Like they're awarded stock, or like as a board member, I imagine you have a huge interest in the company, like you own a decent amount of the stock. So you're interested in the success of the company, and that's kind of your compensation. That's why you're a member of the board. That'd be my guess, but I don't know. When we learn our macro econ course, we'll do that again.
Been different. I'm going to be very nice because we don't have to get into an argument over 2020. But had the election been different, the result been different, we would have had China giving their maximum penalty, which is the penalty of death, to people that sent fentanyl into this country. But Biden didn't, unfortunately, finish that discussion up. I had an agreement with President Xi, who I got along with very well. We've had communication as recently as this week. And I had communication with him where they were going to give the death penalty to anybody sending drugs into the United States.
This week you had that conversation.
Not that conversation, but I had other conversations. Okay. But in the past, I've had that conversation.
Let me ask you about another aspect of the economy, sir, the minimum wage. The federal minimum wage has been $7.25 since 2009. There are 20 states that still have the federal minimum wage at $7.25. And I actually have a map. 19 of these states actually voted for you, sir. Mm-hmm. And you can see it right here. I don't know if you remember this, but during the debate in 2020, I asked you if you would raise the minimum wage.
Let's see. What would Trump say? Populist, I feel like you'd say, you could go either way. You could say, yes, I would raise the minimum wage because American workers need to earn more. Or he would say, we're not even going to need to raise the minimum wage. Once we start tariffing people and people are manufacturing here, the wages are going to be so high, it doesn't matter what the minimum wage is. Let's see, which way do we go?
You said you would consider it. And so my question for you is, now that you are going back to the White House, for these 19 states that voted for you, are you going to raise the federal
It's a very low
wage?
number. I will agree. It's a very low number. Let me give you the downside, though. Yeah. In California, they raised it up to a very high number. And
But if companies were having to pay normal wages instead of what they pay overseas, wouldn't that put more money back into the economy and make it so we don't have to rely on other? We do rely on other. If you don't want to rely on any other economies, that's fine. You're going to be substantially reducing your standard of living. Humans working together can produce more than they can working separately. You create value when like 10 people work together, create more value than 2 groups of 5 people working with just themselves. If you bring manufacturing here, you can pay more wages to people working those lower level jobs, but you're just reducing the standard of living of everybody in the country, because now we're not going to be able to afford much higher level products because everything is more expensive. Is it true that having minimum wages too high prices significant amounts of unskilled workers out of the job market? I mean, it depends on the markets. That's theoretical, but I don't think the minimum wage in the U.S. has ever been so high that it's pricing a ton of people out of the market. I just don't think our minimum wage has ever been that high in the U.S.
Restaurants are going out of business all over the place. The population is shrinking. It's had a very negative impact. But there is a level at which you could do it, absolutely. Yeah.
What is that level, do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. I can say this. You have a lot of businesses that are open and thriving because of the lower minimum wage. If you raise it too much, and you understand this, if California went crazy, they went crazy. And the restaurants are closing all over. Many more people are hurt.
So I hear you saying, similarly to sort of what you said in 2020, will you consider, is this something you're going to look at?
Businesses go out of business all the time. Restaurants, fuck, if I was to make a bullshit ass guess, I would bet that like 70% of restaurants close in the first like 10 years. That'd be my guess. I don't know. What percentage of restaurants fail? I feel like it's got to be a really high. Holy shit. Okay, my bad. This is a AI interview. I should never go with this. Sorry. And this is a random fuck website. The random fuck website says the National Restaurant Association estimates a 20% success rate for all restaurants. 60% fail in their first year. 80% fail within 5 years. Like restaurants just aren't very. Restaurants are hard to do profitably. It's a very competitive market. It's a super competitive market. Oh, hold on. Only 17% of restaurants fail in their first year, not 90%. See the real restaurant fail rate. Well, these people. You might have heard that 90% fail in their first year. That's false. Apparently, this number was originally showed on a TV advertisement with no source listed, and the myth grew from there. And to be honest, that bothers me. As the CEO of Owner.com, I get to personally meet hundreds of successful restaurant owners. I called the Bureau of Labor. Okay, so this guy says that 51%, so about half fail after their 5th year. So I don't know. Whatever you want the number to be, it's high, okay? And then the 10-year survival rate is 35%, which I guess is actually about what I said, 60, 70% fail, so.
I'd want to speak to the governors. And the other thing that's very complicated about minimum wages is places are so different. Mississippi and Alabama and great places are very different than New York or California. I mean, in terms of the cost of living and other things. So it would be nice to have just a minimum wage for the whole country, but it wouldn't work because you have places where it's very inexpensive to live, where a minimum wage, which is $8 or $9, might be, might have very little effect because the cost of living in certain places is really low.
Before
that is the only smart thing you said. I don't know if you stumbled into this, but yeah, I feel like a federal minimum wage just doesn't make much sense. There's dramatically different standards or cost of living in different states and even in different cities within states. The idea of having a single federal minimum wage just seems kind of weird. I feel like if you want a minimum wage, fine, I guess. Peg it to the poverty rates per state or per city or something. It has to be pegged to something.
we move on to immigration, which I do want to talk about, the chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, said he will not leave his post even if you ask him to. Will you try to replace Jerome?
Can he do that? Oh, wait, I'm pretty sure the president could dismiss. Jerome Powell won't leave. Says he won't resign if Donald Trump asks. Oh, that's a significantly right. Donald Trump can fire him or remove him, but he's just saying he's not going to resign if Trump asks him to. I feel like that's a significantly different statement, no?
Jerome Powell?
No, I don't.
Post even if you ask him to. Will you try to replace Jerome Powell?
No, I don't think so. I don't see it, but I don't. I think if I told him to, he would. But if I asked him to, he.
Trump can't fire him. I thought, doesn't the president appoint the Federal Reserve chair? And can he take him out or no? Federal Reserve chair. Chairman serves a 4-year term after being nominated by the President of the United States and confirmed by the U.S. Senate. Oh, the president may not have the legal authority to dismiss the chairman before the end of a term, although this assumption has never been tested in court. Oh, interesting. Okay. Huh.
He probably wouldn't, but if I told him to, he would.
You don't have plans to do that right now?
No, I don't.
Okay, let's talk about mass deportation, one of your big agenda items. You've talked about prioritizing.
Like, this is based. You can just, like, this is what I'm talking about. It's just like, it's like a commercial for Donald Trump. Like, we can just sit here and do random, like, just ask me questions and I just get to say whatever's like part of my campaign ad. And then you just like move on to the next thing. This is awesome. Like, what the fuck?
You don't have plans to do that right now?
No, I don't.
Okay, let's talk about mass deportation, one of your big agenda items. You've talked about prioritizing people who have criminal histories.
Correct.
But is it your plan to deport everyone who is here illegally over the next 4 years?
Well, I think you have to do it. And it's a very
hard, very tough thing, but we need to have we need to have a big wall with big doors, and you have to come in legally. You got to come in legally because it's hurting us and it's weakening the economy and whatever. I don't know what else.
Tough thing to do. It's, but you have to have, you have rules, regulations, laws. They came in illegally. The people that have been treated very unfairly are the people
that came here legally because they went through the process.
People that have been online for 10 years to come into the country. And we're going to make it very easy for people to come in terms of they have to pass the test.
Big wall, big door.
They have to be able to tell you what the Statue of Liberty is. They have to tell you a little bit about our country. They have to.
That's to immigrate. You don't even need to tell somebody. He doesn't even know he doesn't even know how you immigrate to the United States. None of that is necessary to get a green card, by the way. It's okay. Sorry. Who cares? This is all a meme. I'm just kidding. Sorry. Just a meme. Okay. Don't take it too seriously. Don't take it too seriously, okay? Don't take it too seriously. Don't take it too seriously. It's just a joke. These are jokes, okay? These are just jokes. It's a jokes interview, okay? That the president doesn't know anything about how to even get into the United States of America. That's right. Isn't that already the case? You have to know a lot of random U.S. trivia to immigrate. When you're taking your test to become a citizen of the United States, these might be like the citizenship test, but that's different than getting your green card or having a permanent residency. That's a different thing, but these are all just memes. It's okay.
To be able to tell you what the Statue of Liberty is. They have to tell you a little bit about our country. They have to love our country. They can't come out of prisons. We don't want people that are in for murder. So we had 11,000 and 13,000 different estimates, 13,099 murderers released into our country over the last 3 years. We had 11,000 and 13,000 different estimates, 13,099 murderers released into our country over the.
Like, how do you even know? Where do these even come from? How do you even know, like, what?
The last 3 years. They're walking down the streets. They're walking next to you and your family, and they're very dangerous.
The 13,000 figure, I think, goes back about 40 years.
No, it doesn't. No, it's.
Oh, careful. Don't push him. You better shut the fuck up. Let him skate by this and do not push him again on that. Do not push him again on that.
Within the 3 year period. It's during the Biden term. No, that was a fiction that they put that out.
Oh.
This was done by the Border Patrol.
Okay. They were just lying. Oh, and he just says that. Okay, good. Okay.
13,099, and it's during the Biden period of time. And these are murderers, many of whom murdered more than one person. You don't want those people in this country.
But you're saying something, sir, that's significant. I just want to make sure I'm clear, which is that you're saying, yes, you're going to focus on the people with criminal histories, but everyone who's here illegally has to go.
I'm saying this. We have to get the criminals out of our country. We have to get people that were taken out of mental institutions.
The mental institutions. The new figures released by Immigration and Customs Enforcement do show some 13,000 non-citizens convicted of homicide were here on its records and not in its custody. So remember, non-citizens could also include green card holders. So they're doing everything legally, technically, right? However, the Department of Homeland Security, which oversees ICE, said the figures cover a period of many years and include migrants who entered in the U.S. under the Trump presidency and previous administrations. These figures were released in a letter from ICE to Republican Congressman Tony Gonzalez, who had requested them. They show that as of July 2024, there were 425,431 non-citizens with criminal convictions on ICE's non-detained docket, a database of people facing deportation proceedings, but who are not held in ICE custody. Of these, 13,099 were convicted of homicide, 15,811 were convicted of sexual assault, 60,231 were convicted of assault. However, DHS statement said the data had been misinterpreted. It also includes many who are under the jurisdiction or currently incarcerated by federal, state, or local law enforcement partners. Oh, so this is just like, this is a federal agency saying these are people who are convicted, but they're not currently under ICE, meaning federal detention, but they could be under a state detention, which is where most people who commit these crimes, by the way, yeah. So just because they're not being held by ICE, this might not even include people held in federal prison, I'm sorry, or currently incarcerated by federal, state, or local law enforcement partners. Okay, so they could even be in federal prison and still be on this list, okay. For example, Zacharias Moussaoui, who's in a maximum security prison in Colorado for his role in the 9/11 attacks, is not currently detained by ICE, so will likely be on that list. This data for the 13,000 convicted, this data goes back decades and includes individuals who entered the country over the past 40 years or more. And the vast majority of those custody determinations were made long before this Biden-Harris administration. So Trump just tells it's just a full-on fucking lie. But that's okay.
And put them back into their mental institution, no matter what country it is. Do you know that Venezuela, their prisons are at the lowest point in terms of emptiness that they've ever been? They're taking their people out of those prisons by the thousands, and they're drunk. And just to get...
Destiny, why shouldn't we deport people who are here illegally? Isn't the country pretty much lawless if we don't even control who's in the country? You shouldn't deport them because it just wouldn't make sense. It's just way too much of a fucking hassle to do it. And they're already like integrated into and contributing to the economy. It's better to just give them a path to citizenship. If you want to find them or whatever, do it. Or at least a path to green card status. Give them a path to permanent residency.
Because I know exactly what you're getting at. Number one, we're doing criminals, and we're going to do them really rapidly. We're getting the worst gang probably with MS-13, and the Venezuelan gangs are the worst in the world. They're vicious, violent people. And you see what they've done in Colorado and other places. They're taking over, literally taking over apartment complexes and doing it with impunity. They don't care. They couldn't. They just are. They're in the real estate business.
You know, the local police say that is not the case in Colorado.
Oh, it's
Wrong. Okay. She's just contradicted you. Just tell her she's wrong and keep moving on. You can do it. Tell her she's wrong. Keep moving on.
totally the case. I mean, I have it on
You don't
tape.
believe the local police.
I play it. I used to play it at my rallies every single night. No, they're breaking into doors. They're taking over the building.
But sir, you
and by the
raised
way, the
point,
police are afraid to do anything.
You raised the point that the logistics are complicated. You said
Sure
it yourself.
they are, but everything's complicated.
Yeah, I mean, you need 24 times more ICE detention capacity just to deport 1 million people per year, not to mention more agents, more judges, more planes. Is it realistic to deport everyone who's
You have
here
no
illegally?
choice. First of all, they're costing us a fortune. But we're starting with the criminals, and we got to do it. And then we're starting with others, and we're going to see how it goes.
Who are the others?
Others are other people outside of criminals. We have convicted murders. We don't mean people that are even on trial. We have people that have murdered numerous people are on our streets and in our farms, and we have to get them out of our country.
What about dreamers, sir? Dreamers who are
Whoa, her earpiece just went off. Excuse me. Hold on. Hold up. Okay, we know that Trump just said 7 lies. Careful, though, because it sounds like you're being a little bit biased. It sounds like you're kind of being a liberal media hack fuck shill. So let Donald Trump have his word. Stop being so fucking combative, okay?
brought to this country illegally as children. You said once back in 2017, they, quote, shouldn't be very worried about being deported. Should they be worried now?
The dreamers are going to come later, and we have to do something about the dreamers because.
Why do you keep saying we have to do something? You're the president. Tell us what you're going to do. Why do you keep saying we have to do something? Tell us. That's what the whole point of this interview is to tell us what is that something?
Because these are people that have been brought here at a very young age, and many of these are middle-aged people now. They don't even speak the language of their country. And yes, we're going to do something about the dreamers.
What does that mean?
And
what are you going to do?
I will work with the Democrats on a plan, and if we can come up with a plan, but the Democrats have made it very, very difficult to do anything. Republicans are very open to the dreamers. The dreamers, we're talking many years ago, they were brought into this country, many years ago. Some of them are no longer young people, and in many cases, they become successful. They have great jobs. In some cases, they have small businesses. Some cases, they might have large businesses. And we're going to have to do something with them.
How do you feel about the group of people who was advocating for reporting ICE on those who to stick it to Trump voters? Seems a bit unhinged, but no, I think that's totally valid. If you know like conservatives in your life who have friends who are illegal immigrants, you should absolutely report them to federal authorities. Yeah, provide as much information as possible. Sure, if these are what they voted for, yeah. Because I think, remember, the most important thing is people need to feel the effects of what they vote for. And that's a really easy, direct way to make them feel the effects. Yeah, for sure.
And
you want them to be able to stay. That's what you're saying?
I do.
Okay.
I want to be able to work something out. And it should have been able to be worked out over the last 3 or 4 years. And it never got worked out. You know, Biden could have done it because he controlled, Congress to a certain extent, right? He could have.
He could have just legalized all of them.
Done something, but they didn't do it. I never understood why, because they always seem to want to do it, but then when it comes down to it, they don't. I think we can.
I like. Are we going to talk about how there was at least a bill for like the asylum stuff and everything, and that just got like the reason it didn't happen was because of you? Are we going to go over that, or is that just
work with the Democrats and work something out?
Let me ask you about another group of people, the estimated 4 million families in America who have mixed immigration status. So I'm talking about parents who might be here illegally, but the kids are here legally. Your borders are.
You're talking about separation.
Yeah, well, I mean, there are two aspects to this. Your border czar, Tom Homan, said they can be deported together.
Correct.
Is that the plan?
Well, that way you keep those. Well, I don't want to be breaking up families, so the only way you don't break up the family is you keep them together, and you have
you deport the whole group
to send them all back.
Even.
Oh my God.
Kids who are here legally?
Well, what you're going to do if they want to stay with the father? Look, we have to have rules and regulations. You can always find something out like, this doesn't work, that doesn't work. I'll tell you what's going to be horrible. When we take a wonderful young woman who's with a criminal, and they show the woman, and she could stay by the law, but they show the woman being taken out, or they want her out, and your cameras are focused on her as she's crying, as she's being taken out of our country, and then the public turns against us. But we have to do our job.
What? I don't even know what the fuck did he just say? Was he saying you would deport the person here legally to keep them together, even though she would be crying? Is that what? Was that analogy, or
legally?
Well, what you're going to do if they want to stay with the father? Look, we have to have rules and regulations. You can always find something out like, this doesn't work, that doesn't work. I'll tell you what's going to be horrible. When we take a wonderful young woman who's with a criminal, and they show the woman, and she could stay by the law, but they show the woman being taken out, or they want her out, and your cameras are focused on her as she's crying, as she's being taken out of our country, and then the public turns against us. But we have to do our job, and you have to have a series of standards and a series of laws. And in the end, look, our country is a mess. We have the highest crime rate, and during the debate, a man whose ratings have gone way down, David Muir, said to me, no, crime is...
Why does he bring up the ratings? I get criticized all the time by this fucking streamer whose concurrent viewership, by the way, is 1/5 of my... Like, what a crazy thing to just...
Because I had to debate 3 people, not one. Debating 1 was easy. Debating 3 was actually pretty easy, too, if you want to know the truth. But David Muir said, the crime rates have gone down. I said, no, they've gone up. And then the following day, they released the crime rates, and they were way up.
Yeah, and the FBI statistics, you're talking about those FBI statistics.
Well, no, but he gave the wrong answer.
Confusing based on what you're looking at.
But a lot of that is migrant crime.
Let me ask you about another aspect
but Christian,
of this.
You know, a lot of it's
migrant or illegal migrant or what? What is he referring to here?
Migrant crime.
Well, let me ask you about another aspect of this that I think a lot of people are really curious about. I mean, 3% of the people who are here illegally have criminal histories. But in your first administration, you had the zero tolerance policy.
Why is the reporter not pushing back on anything? Because I don't think Trump will give interviews if you're going to challenge him. So you've got to okay every question beforehand and agree that you're not going to be a jerk.
Have criminal histories. But in your first administration, you had the zero tolerance policy, where we did see family separations.
Yeah.
You ended it. The purpose of that, though, to some extent, and you talked about this at the time, was deterrent.
You also had it with Obama. You do know that.
He didn't have a zero tolerance policy.
And you also know he built the jails for children.
He didn't have a zero tolerance policy.
But in 2014, he built the jails. You know that.
I want to ask you about the zero tolerance policy. I mean, he didn't have a systemic, we're going to separate families. Families were separated when parents were a threat to the kids.
We don't have to separate a family.
Excuse
me, Kristen.
Yeah.
We don't have to separate families. Yeah. We'll send the whole family very humanely back to the country where they came.
To be fair, interviewing Trump is pretty hard. Interviewing Trump would be very easy, but people are going to say that you're biased, and liberal media is petrified of conservatives saying that they have Trump derangement syndrome, so they never will push back.
That way the family's not separated.
So no more family separations. You're not reviving the zero tolerance policy.
It depends on the family. The family may decide to say, I'd rather have dad go, and we'll stay here. And in which case they have that option.
But you're not going to revive your zero tolerance policy, which was put in place as a deterrent. Is there any universe where you would bring that back, sir?
We need deterrence. Look, ready? When somebody comes here illegally, they're going out. It's very simple. When they come here illegally, they're going out. Now, if they come here illegally, but their family is here legally, then the family has a choice. The person that came in illegally can go out, or they can all go out together. And that was made very clear by Tom Homan.
So you're not, at this point in time, planning to revive that zero tolerance policy where kids are
well, if you call
separated?
that, yeah, I'm doing what I just told you I'm going to do.
Do you think large media companies fear retribution from Trump, or is that not really an issue? I don't know. That's pretty dark. I don't think we're at that point yet. I just think that because the population has been so brainwashed by conservative talking points, the media just wants to not lose credibility to alternative media. And conservatives have basically instantiated it into the mind of everybody that instilled it into the mind of everybody that if you're mean to Trump or if you push back on him, you're being biased. So now it's like the goal is like, okay, well, fuck, we just have to be, we have to just be as let him say whatever, basically.
You know, I don't want to send the family out. I don't want to send anybody out. But I'll tell you, we have to, because otherwise we have no country. If we don't have borders, and if we don't have voting, good voting, fair voting, do you know they're still counting votes in San Diego, California? Listen, they're still counting the votes. This is almost 4 weeks.
Liberal media has to realize that conservatives won't trust them, right? Yeah, but conservatives have made liberals not even trust liberal media, which is hard. Right? Remember I told you this, for a long time even I believed that Jan 6 wasn't a big deal, that Russiagate was a huge fuck up, and there were absolutely no ties between the Trump campaign and Russia, that liberal media was way too harsh on Trump, that maybe even the first impeachment was maybe a little bit too much of a, even I believe these things, and there's no excuse for it.
They're still counting the votes. If we don't have fair elections and honest voting and machines that work quickly, you know, if you had paper ballots, every election will be over by 10 o'clock in the evening.
So, let me ask you.
You understand what I'm saying?
Let me, before we get
and
to...
you get a much more accurate count.
Before we get to all of that, let me ask you about some of your other promises on this topic. You've promised to end birthright citizenship on day one. Is that still your plan?
Yeah, absolutely.
The 14th Amendment, though, says that, quote, all persons born in the United States are citizens. Can you get a...
They were too harsh on the wrong things, Destiny. That was the problem. Things that really mattered, they were selling out. That's not true. No, it was everything. Conservatives are just good at evading every single point of responsibility.
Amendment, though, says that, quote, all persons born... Your other promises on this topic. You've promised to end birthright citizenship on day one. Is that still your plan?
Yeah, absolutely.
The 14th Amendment, though, says that, quote, all persons born in the United States are citizens. Can you get around the 14th Amendment with an executive...
Why? They did it once.
We have to get a change. We'll maybe have to go back to the people. But we have to end it. We're the only country that has it.
Through an executive action?
You know, we're the only country that has it. Do you know?
Is that actually true? Are we the only? Is the United States, is the U.S. the only country with birthright citizenship? I don't actually know if that's true or not. Countries with birthright citizenship. Oh, okay. Well, it would appear that we are not the only country that has it. So types, there are restricted types throughout these countries and unrestricted for these countries. Most of the Western Hemisphere has birthright citizenship. Okay. I guess it kind of makes sense because when your countries are starting in the new world, you want people born there to be citizens of the countries, right? Isn't birthright citizenship a good thing, and conservatives would want to keep it if they want to be isolationists? They're just on some wild, ultra-isolationist, ultra-protectionist, ultra-nationalist, stupid shit.
If somebody sets a foot, just a foot, 1 foot, you don't need two, on our land, congratulations, you are now a citizen of the United States of America. Yes, we're going to end that because it's ridiculous.
Through executive action?
Well, if we can, through executive action. I was going to do it through executive action, but then we had to fix COVID first to be...
Dumb question, but is there really a problem with changing things in the Constitution? Everyone seems to get upset about that, but it's hard to tell if they really said the thing that's being... What? No, of course. What are you talking about? Of course you can change things in the Constitution. We have a process to do so.
Yes, we're going to end that because it's ridiculous.
Through executive action?
Well, if we can, through executive action. I was going to do it through executive action, but then we had to fix COVID first, to be honest with you. We have to end it. It's ridiculous. Do you know we're the only country in the world that has it? Do you know that? There's
Well,
not one other country.
what about the legal challenge, inevitable legal
that's the other
challenges
thing.
that'll
Do you know
come?
we have thousands of judges? Somebody walks onto our land, and we have to now say, welcome to the United States. They could.
Is that through amendments? Yes, an amendment means you're amending the Constitution. Yes.
Thousands of judges. Somebody walks onto our land, and we have to now say, welcome to the United States. They could be a criminal or not a criminal. We release them into our country. It's called catch and release. We release them into our country. Wait just 1 second. And now they get them lawyers. And the lawyers are good lawyers. And
why wasn't there any amendment since 1992 then? Do you believe the Constitution has been perfect since then? Why do you add these, like, the most retardedly aggressive statements after your sentence? Like, do you think you're being clever or sneaky, or are you just like a retarded person and you're like drooling on your keyboard as you manage to like slobber these last few words out? Why hasn't there been an amendment since 92? I don't know when the last amendment was. I'm assuming you're correct, it's 92, because it's very, very difficult to pass an amendment. I think you need a supermajority in both halves of Congress, and I think you need the actual states themselves to ratify it as well, right? Like, it's very, very, very difficult to pass an amendment. I don't know why you would imagine that means that the Constitution has been perfect. Different people have different interpretations of what the Constitution should even look like. What a stupid fucking question.
everybody has a lawyer. And do you know how many judges we have? Thousands. Thousands. Now, here's what other countries do. They come into the land and they say, I'm sorry, you have to go. And they take them out. Okay? With us, once they touch our land, we're into litigation that lasts for years, costs us hundreds of billions of dollars. We have judges, and I'm sure they're all honest, but I don't know that for a fact. You can imagine what's going on with the judges. But just so you, because I have a lot of judges, I tell you what, I know more about judges than any human being in history. Look, we have judges. Every time somebody puts 2 feet or even 1 foot on a piece of our land, it's welcome to long-term litigation. Other countries, every other country, when somebody walks on and they see that they're here illegally, they walk them off, they take them back to where they came from. We have to get rid of this system. It's killing our country.
Let's talk about health care. I've been talking to Republican law.
Like, why not ask about the, okay, but we had a bill that would have provided for a whole bunch more judges and funding and everything, but okay.
Lawmakers on Capitol Hill, they say it's no longer feasible to repeal and replace Obamacare because it's so entrenched in the system. Do you see it that way? Is that now off the table, repealing and replacing
when John
Obamacare?
McCain let us down by voting, and Murkowski and Collins and whoever it was that voted against, but they really let us down. They did us a great disservice because we would have had great health. Obamacare is lousy health care. It's very expensive health care for the people. It's also expensive for the country, but for the people. It's lousy health care. When John McCain gave his thumbs down after saying for 10 years that he wants to repeal and replace, okay? And then he came out, he gave...
You didn't even have a replacement for it, you fucking moron. You guys were literally just going to axe it with nothing to put up instead.
Put his now famous thumbs down, and he became a hero to the left. Let me just tell you, if we find something better, I would love to do it.
Wait, so you still don't have something better? You just keep saying it's horrible and it's a bad thing, but you don't have anything to suggest, like you have no alternative?
Unless we find, but one thing I have to say, I inherited Obamacare, or anything else you want to go, it's got about 20 names, but I inherited it. And I had a decision to make with Health and Human Services. I had a big decision to make. Do I make it as good as we can make it, or do I let it rot? And a lot of political people said, let it rot and let it be a failure. I said, that's not the right thing to do.
Which is basically what they did by pulling the mandate, by the way. So if you're a person that has to buy healthcare in the United States and you're kind of wondering, why is my healthcare so expensive, or why is insurance so expensive? Part of the reason is because Donald Trump pulled the mandate. So now everybody in the United States doesn't have to buy healthcare anymore. So if you are somebody who relies on your insurance to get covered by things, this is a thing that makes it more expensive. But
to do. And I had very good people in the medical area that handled that. And I said, what do you want to do? He said, we really have an obligation to make it as good as we can. And we did. We made it as good as we can make it. Instead of making it bad where everybody would be calling for its repeal, I made it so that it works. Now,
But you
it
did
works.
try to overturn it,
It's
sir.
well, it's
you did
lousy.
try to overturn it.
No,
You did
no.
have your Justice Department try to direct the Supreme Court to.
No, we got to.
Because less people are paying into it? Yes, because once you axe the mandate, people who don't use health insurance that much stop paying into it, because why would you buy health insurance if you're a relatively healthy person? So then that means that your insurance pool is generally more high cost, high risk people. So the overall pool has to increase costs in order to make it sustainable.
A little bit of a surprising opinion, to be honest with you. Everybody would be calling for its repeal. I made it so that it works. Now,
But you
it
did
works.
try to overturn it.
What did you do to make it work? What are you talking about? What is he even referring to here?
It's
sir.
well, it's
you did
lousy.
try to overturn it.
No,
You did
no.
have your Justice Department try to direct the Supreme Court to.
No, we got a little bit of a surprising opinion, to be honest with you. If it would have been overturned, we would have had much better health care.
The mandate was awful. People were forced to pay huge penalties if they couldn't afford insurance. Once again, it hurt the working poor. You're dead wrong, and you're retarded, and you should buy the thickest rope possible. The mandate forced people who were healthy to buy into the insurance pools to make it affordable for people who are working poor. Okay? You're dead wrong. You are the wrongest you've ever been in your entire fucking life. That is a middle-class LARPer. Okay? Rope. Immediately.
Right now. But right now, we have something that I made the best of. I could have made the worst of.
Should healthy people subsidize unhealthy people? Yes. That's the whole point of a health insurance pool. Yes. How else does medical coverage work if you don't have everybody bought into it? Yes.
And it would have been overturned. We would have had much better health care right now. But right now, we have something that I made the best of. I could have made the worst of it, and it would have fallen by the wayside.
I don't like paying for other people's health care. Meh. Then leave the country. Then get the fuck out, because you wouldn't be shit without all the other shit that we pay for in the United States. What are you talking about? What do you think you're a fucking island? Like, the only way that you can do anything in this country is if it's a functional fucking country. You have to pay for the roads, you got to pay for the emergency services, you got to pay taxes that pays for welfare for other people in your cities. You don't have a giant fucking revolt so people don't overthrow the government. What do you mean? That's part of joining a country. Would you rather live here? Would you rather be in Romania? No shade to Romania. Would you rather be here? Would you rather be in Nigeria or Uganda or Kenya or at any random island of the Philippines? Like, I mean, what do you mean? Like, there's a reason why the United States is a good place to live, and it's not just because the richest fucking billionaires are here, right? It's because we have a stable society where generally the floor of living and existence is kind of high, and you have to pay a tax for that.
I could have made the worst of it, and it would have fallen by the wayside. I did the right thing from a human standpoint, but, you know, I'm sort of proud of my decision. At the same time, sometimes I regret it. I told the people, and I gave them the money to do it. I said, fix it, make it work, because people would have suffered. But it's too bad that they voted no. I wish John McCain, I wish he fought for 10 years on replacing Obama.
Out of context, we'd love to know your opinion on the Australian social media ban for under 16s. The boomers are freaking out now because they need ID verification on Facebook. I think it's based. Social media for under 16s is probably really unhealthy. I think it's good.
For 10 years, and then he voted against. Nobody understands it.
Sir, you said during the campaign you had concepts of a plan. Do you have an actual plan at this point for health care?
Yes.
Oh my God, he does?
We have concepts of a plan that would.
Okay, it's all memes. It's all good. Okay, just a meme thing. Use the restroom, got a drink. We're good.
Be better.
Still just concepts? Do you have a fully developed plan?
Let me explain. We have the biggest healthcare companies looking at it. We have doctors. We're always looking because Obamacare stinks. It's lousy.
She should say, what part of it don't you like, Mr. President?
There are better answers. If we come up with a better answer, I would present that answer to Democrats and to everybody else, and I do something about it. But until we have that, or until they can approve it, but we're not going to go through the big deal. I am the one that saved Obamacare, I will say, and I did the right thing. I could have.
Like, what do we even, like, what is the Republican brain here? Okay, Obamacare sucks. but he saved Obamacare, but he made it better. But it also sucks. But
I've done the more political thing and killed it. And all I had to do is starve it to death.
You did try to have your justice.
you did starve it to death. What are you talking about? You literally pulled the mandate. What do you mean you tried to?
I could have done the more political thing and killed it. And all I had to do is starve it to death.
You did try to have your Justice Department effectively kill it, though,
No.
sir.
Kill it from a legal standpoint, but from
What other standpoint? And it was going to exist conceptually in the hearts and minds of the American people?
To have your Justice Department effectively kill it, though,
no.
sir.
Kill it from a legal standpoint, but from a physical standpoint, I made it work.
In your concepts of a plan, sir.
What is that? Is Obamacare a person? I killed it legally, but physically. What does that even mean?
Will people with pre-existing conditions still have coverage? And can you guarantee?
Oh, the pre-existing condition. Okay, we love the pre-existing conditions coverage. So we're going to go ahead and stick with that one.
Their prices will not go up.
The answer is yes, they'll have coverage. You have to have it.
And what about their prices?
Because you know what?
What about their prices, sir?
I want the prices to go down. I want to have better health care for less money. And there are ways of
better health care for less money.
doing it, I believe. And I have the smartest people in that world. You know, that's a separate world unto itself. I have the smartest people in that world looking at it and trying. And if they come up with something, I will present it. Now,
they haven't come up with anything yet. You wanted to repeal and replace this 10 years ago, and you don't have anything?
maybe you won't be able to sell it. But if we get better health care for less money, I believe it's very saleable.
Just very quickly, when will we see your fully developed plan? When are you going to show
I don't know
the
that you'll
public
see it at all. I can only.
Why did you? It's all good. It's just a joke. This is all just meme shit. Okay. It's just meme shit. This is just meme shit. And at the end of the day, it's all just memes. That's all it is. And it's fine.
Say that we have some of the best healthcare people. I've always tinkered with it. I think it's a little hard to explain. Obamacare, when I took it over, was a disaster.
Okay, repeat the talking. What does that mean? What was a disaster about it? What was bad about it? And what did you make good about it? The rest of the 30 minutes of the interview should just be repeating that over and over again. Like, what was bad about it? And what did you make better?
And I made it
has insured
workable.
20 million people.
Yeah, because of me.
What are you talking about? Less people had insurance after he pulled the mandate. What is he even talking about? What?
Because of me. If you look at what I did, I was the one.
What did you do?
I made it good.
You tried to
legally.
repeal and replace it. You tried to kill it,
Because if I repealed
sir.
it and replaced it, we would have had a better system because we wouldn't have had health care. And the Democrats would have been forced to do something. If we wouldn't have had it, the Democrats would have been forced to do something that they wouldn't do if we have it.
Let me ask you about another aspect of healthcare. You talked about this on the campaign trail, right. IVF. You promised free IVF for all who want it, either through the government or through mandates with insurance companies.
If we implement universal health care, would the government have to control risky behavior? Should we make smoking and obesity illegal? No. Maybe you could fine it a little bit, or you could have you weigh people and maybe it costs a little bit more, maybe. But the problem is once you start making certain types of behavior finable, then it gets very difficult to figure out where should we, what penalizes you and what doesn't. That becomes very complicated, I think.
I've been hearing from Republican senators, some of them, who say they're not going to support that plan. How are you going to get that passed?
Well, we're going to see. We want them to pay, ideally the insurance companies to pay for it, the fertilization. I came out very early for a Republican especially, and I think they were looking for my guidance, my great wisdom, right? They were looking for it. And I got a call from Katie Britt, who's a terrific person, senator from Alabama, and she said, sir, we just had a really negative ruling from a judge in Alabama, conservative judge, that all of these clinics had to be closed. And she said, and she went into great detail, and she said people are devastated over it. And after literally speaking to her for 5 minutes, I issued an order, really an order in a sense, and it was a statement from the Republican Party that we are all for IVF and fertilization. Okay. The Alabama legislature met the following day and passed it. It was a beautiful thing to see. And I consider myself to be the father of IVF in a certain way. And the Republicans were very strong on the issue.
But, sir, I want to understand where it falls in your list of priorities. I mean, is this something we can expect to see you try to move on in the first 100 days?
We're going to be talking about it, and we're going to be seeing. We have a lot of other things. I have tax cuts. You know, we'll be submitting in either the first or second package to Congress the extension of the tax cuts. So that might very well be in there, or it'll come sometime after that.
Let's talk about abortion, sir. You have taken responsibility for overturning Roe v. Wade. You've said that abortion is now a state issue. There are steps that you could take, though, as president to restrict abortion through executive action without Congress. More than half of abortions in this country are medication abortions. Will you restrict the availability of abortion pills when you're in office?
I'll probably stay with exactly what I've been saying for the last 2 years, and the answer is no.
You commit to that?
Well, I commit. I mean, do things change? I think they change. I hate to go on shows like Joe Biden. I'm not going to give my son a pardon. I will not, under any circumstances, give him a pardon. I watched this, and I always knew he was going to give him a pardon, and I don't like putting myself in a position like that. So things do change, but I don't think it's going to change at all.
Okay. Let's talk about some of your picks to fill out your administration. You named Kash Patel to be the next FBI director. Yeah. He has a list in his book of 60 people that he calls members of the so-called deep state. It includes Democrats like Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton. It includes former members of your cabinet, from Bill Barr to Christopher Wray. You campaigned on destroying the deep state. Do you want Kash Patel to launch investigations into people on that list?
No, I mean, he's going to do what he thinks is right.
Do you think that's right? Do you think that's right, sir?
If they think that somebody was dishonest or crooked or a corrupt politician, I think he probably has an obligation to do it. But
are you going to direct him to do it?
No, not at all. Not at all. We have two great people there. We have him and we have Pam. And Pam Bondi has been like a rocket ship. She's very popular and very good and very fair. And Kash Patel is very fair. I'll tell you, I thought Kash may be difficult because he's, a strong conservative voice. And I don't know of anybody that's not singing his praises. The other day I was watching, and Trey Gowdy, who's a moderate person and very smart.
Just in case you didn't remember, Kash Patel was the one who wrote the book that we watched the song trailer for. What was the name of this book? That's this guy. By order of the evil old queen, the plot against the king, the plot against the king. That's who they're talking about. It's the author of that book.
And very respected in the party. He's Kash's biggest fan. He said, this is the most misunderstood man in politics. He's great. I guess they worked together on the Russia hoax or something. And Trey Gowdy became a fan. Trey Gowdy. Everybody respects him. And, just like him, others also. I don't know of one negative vote. I don't think he's going to have any negative votes.
Is it your expectation, though, that Kash Patel will pursue investigations against your political enemies?
No, I don't think so.
Do you want to see that happen?
If they were crooked, if they did something wrong, if they have broken the law, probably. They went after me, They went after me and I did nothing wrong.
Well, let me ask you this. You said President Biden, quote, that you're going to appoint a real special prosecutor to go after Joe Biden. You said that during the campaign.
Where?
You said that on Truth Social, June 12th, 2023. I will appoint a real special prosecutor to go after the most corrupt president in the history of the United States, Joe Biden, and the entire Biden crime family. Are you going to do that? Are you going to go after Joe Biden?
I'm really looking to make our country successful.
That was he just flat out fucking lied, and he's not even going to have to answer for it.
I'm not looking to go back into the past. I'm looking to make our country successful. Mm-hmm. Retribution will be through success. If we can make this country successful, that would be that would be such a great achievement. Bring it back. We have a country now that's overridden with crime, that has millions of people that shouldn't be here, that should be in prisons in other countries, that should be in mental institutions. We have drug lords being dropped into our country and told never go back to their country. I'm looking to make our country great. I'm looking to bring prices down because, I won on two things, the border, and more than immigration. You know, they like to say immigration. I break it down more to the border, but I won on the border, and I won on groceries. It's a very simple word, groceries. Like almost, you know, who uses the word? I started using the word, the groceries. When you buy apples, when you buy bacon, when you buy eggs, they would double and triple the price over a short period of time. And I won an election based on that. We're going to bring those prices way down.
I want to pause here because what you're saying is significant. Because you wrote on Truth Social in 2023 that you're going to appoint a real special prosecutor to go after Joe Biden. Now you're saying you're not going to do that.
I will say this. No, I'm not doing that unless I find something that I think is reasonable. But that's not going to be my decision. That's going to be Pam Bondi's decision, and to a different extent, Kash Patel. Assuming they're both there, and I think they're both going to get approved. But you know, while you ask me that, what they've done to me with weaponization is a disgrace.
We'll get to some of that.
No,
sir.
wait. You can't do one without the other.
True.
In the history of our country, nothing like this has ever happened. And I've won these cases. I've won every one, and the rest are in the process.
Like, none of this is true. You haven't won any of these, but okay.
Of being won. Deranged Jack Smith is on his way back to The Hague, where he can execute people. This is where he...
Why can't we have Kamala complaining and saying she's going to fix everything in the same way? Wouldn't it work? I don't know. What was the Kamala interview? I feel like they always ask the Democrats. Was it the Kamala Walls interview? Where they did them together?
Madam Vice President.
Believable, I think, in the impact that we can make.
You talked about, you call it the opportunity economy. You are well aware that right now many Americans are struggling. There's a crisis of affordability. One of your campaign themes is we're not going back. But I wonder what you say to voters who do want to go back when it comes to the economy specifically, because their groceries were less expensive, housing was more affordable when Donald Trump was president.
Well, let's start with the fact that when Joe Biden and I came in office, during the height of a pandemic, we saw over 10 million jobs were lost. People, I mean, literally, we were all tracking the numbers. Hundreds of people a day were dying because of COVID. The economy had crashed. In large part, all of that because of mismanagement by Donald Trump of that crisis. When we came in, our highest priority was to do what we could to rescue America. And today, we know that we have inflation at under 3%. A lot of our policies have led to the reality that America recovered faster than any wealthy nation around the world. But you are right. Prices, in particular for groceries, are still too high. The American people know it, I know it, which is why my agenda includes what we need to do to bring down the price of groceries. For example, dealing with an issue like price gouging. What we need to do to extend the child tax credit to help young families be able to take care of their children in their most formative years. What we need to do to bring down the cost of housing. My proposal includes what would be...
Like, this is so cucked. Like, you can't even take credit for what you've done for things like the American Rescue Plan. Like, yeah, everything is fucked. You're right. Everything is so fucked. Everything is bad. What are you going to do? Well, we had the American Rescue Plan. We had multiple policies in place. We were aware that there were 10 million jobs lost in the economy. We're going to extend the child tax. And like, Donald Trump's like, I'm going to make it so good. I'm going to make it so much better. And it was good. And it was better. And I'm going to go back to making it better.
Would be a tax credit of $25,000 for first-time home buyers, so they can just have enough to put a down payment on a home, which is part of the American dream and their aspiration, but do it in a way that allows them to actually get on the path to achieving that goal and that dream.
So you have been vice president for 3.5 years. Yeah. The steps that you're talking about now, why haven't you done them already?
Well, first of all, we had to...
Jesus Christ! Like, why not ask Trump? Why didn't you do this in your 4 years in Congress? You or as a president, you had 4 years and a majority in both. Like. But for Kamala, it's like, you're the vice president.
Recover as an economy, and we have done that. I'm very proud of the work that we have done that has brought inflation, allowing measures that have benefited insulin for
is a success.
So much she was paying hundreds of dollars, up to thousands of dollars a month for her insulin. She's not doing that anymore.
You maintain Bidenomics is a success.
I maintain that when we do the work of bringing down prescription medication for the American people, including capping the cost.
Like, she can't even say yes to this. It's such a cucked position. This is so cucked. You think Bidenomics was a success? Yeah. Look at America's position in the G7 compared to every other economy in the world when it comes to inflation, when it comes to job opportunity, when it comes to our recovery in the post-pandemic world, when it comes to still military leadership of the world. Whose cruisers was it that sailed down to Yemen, okay, to bully the fucking Houthis out of opening those shores? Who are leading negotiations when it comes to Ukraine and Russia, or opening like access of weapons to people? Who is we're the leader of the fucking free world still economically? Like, we are. Like, we just are. Yeah. What do you mean?
Cost of the annual cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000. When we do what we did in the first year of being in office to extend the child tax credit so that we cut child poverty in America.
UK ships went to the Houthis as well? Yeah, to watch.
America by over 50%. When we do what we have done to invest in the American people and bringing manufacturing back to the United States so that we created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs, bringing business back to America, what we have done to improve the supply chain so we're not relying on foreign governments to supply American families with their basic needs, I'll say that that's good work. There's more to do, but that's good work.
I want to get some clarity on where you stand on some key policy issues. Energy is a big one. When you were in Congress, you supported the Green New Deal. And in 2019, you said, quote, "There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking." Fracking, as you know, is a pretty big issue.
She's going to take a quote from 2019 and crucify her on the fracking thing. Meanwhile, Donald Trump tweets in 2023 that he's going to go after political opponents in the DOJ. And it's like, oh, I just said shit, bro. I don't mean that shit. Fuck off. What?
Particularly in your must-win state of Pennsylvania. Sure. Do you still want to ban fracking?
No, and I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020, that I would not ban fracking. As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking.
In 2019, I believe, at a town hall, you said, you were asked, would you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking on your first day in office? And you said, there's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So yes. So it changed in that campaign?
In 2020, I made very clear where I stand. We are in 2024, and I've not changed that position, nor will I going forward. I kept my word, and I will keep my word.
What made you change that position?
Like, what the fuck? Like, what? Like, that's like 3 or 4 clarifications. Donald Trump put this out 1 year ago. And he's literally appointing people that say they want to do this. The exact thing.
We should have stayed.
And by the way, this is the liberal media. This is CNN. This is supposed to be the most dick suck, left-wing, fucking championing the fucking left, the socialists, like sucking them off, Trump derangement. This is the left-wing media, by the way.
I think he's on his way back to The Hague where he can execute people. This is where he should have stayed. I think he's dangerous even being there. But I'll tell you what they've done to me in terms of weaponization, indictments, impeachments, and everything else. And in the end, it probably helped me because I got the biggest vote, the most votes any Republican's ever gotten in history.
Pam Bondi talks about investigating the investigators. Do you want her to investigate Jack Smith?
I want her to do what she wants to do.
Do you want to see Jack Smith investigated?
Well, I think he's very corrupt, but I want her to do whatever she has to do.
Are you going to direct her to prosecute Jack Smith?
She's a very smart person. She was a great Attorney General in Florida. She's very experienced. I want her to do what she wants to do. I'm not going to instruct her to do it now.
Sir, are you going to fire the current FBI Director, Christopher Wray, who you appointed?
Well, I can't say I'm thrilled with him. He invaded my home. I'm suing the country over it. He invaded Mar-a-Lago. I'm very unhappy with the things he's done. And crime is at an all-time high. Migrants are pouring into the country that are from prisons and from mental institutions, as we've discussed.
What is the crime is at an all-time high? Where does that come from?
I can't say I'm thrilled. I don't want to be Joe Biden and give you an answer and then do the exact opposite.
We're going to talk.
Like, do you hear what he's saying? Like, is it not plain what he's saying? He's saying Joe Biden fucked up by making any commitment or saying anything ever. I don't want to be like Joe Biden and commit to any position whatsoever so I can do literally anything that I want. Like,
talk about
so I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to say is I certainly cannot be happy with him. You take a look at what's happened. And then when I was shot in the ear, he said, oh, maybe it was shrapnel. Where's the shrapnel coming from? Is it coming from heaven? I don't think so. So we need somebody to straighten. You know, I have a lot of respect for the FBI, but the FBI's respect has gone way down over the last number of years.
Don't you have to fire him in order to make room for Kash Patel if he is, in fact, confirmed?
Well, I mean, it would sort of seem pretty obvious that if Kash gets in, he's going to be taking somebody's place, right? And somebody is the man that you're talking about.
Okay. Let's talk about Project 2025. This is the conservative policy blueprint. You disavowed it during the campaign. You called it a product of the radical right. You've said some of their ideas were abysmal.
I said some of it is. Some of it is very good. Some of it's very mainstream, actually. Frankly, the Democrats should have used some of it because they went, you know, with all the transgender that they were doing or with the men playing in women's sports. Well, if they wouldn't have done that, maybe they would have done better.
Well, so you take me to my question. You're now giving people involved in Project 2025 prominent roles in your administration. Are you changing your mind about Project 2025? No. Is this now the policy blueprint for the second Trump administration?
No. Some people, if you take a look at the group, it was hundreds of people were involved. And I was actually, I reprimanded the whole group. I said, you shouldn't have placed this document in front of the voters because I have nothing to do with it and I'm the one that's running. You had no right to do this where you put a 1,000-page document in front, and many of those things I disagree with. Now, many of those things I happen to agree with. Many of those things Democrats should have agreed.
Wait. Why can he say he agrees with many of those things when before he said he didn't know anything about it? Has he read the 1,000 pages since then, or?
Agreed to, and I think they would have done much better in the election because they got slaughtered.
Well, I guess people.
Also, which things do you agree with? Why is he allowed to just say, like, some things I like, some things I don't, some things are great, some things are bad? Like, what do you mean? Like,
see the list: Russ Vought, Brendan Carr, Peter Navarro, John Ratcliffe, Pete Hoekstra, Monica Crowley, and they think these are all of the people who were involved in or writing Project 2025. This must be a blueprint for work requirements, eliminating the Head Start program, criminalizing pornography. Is that what we can expect?
Well, I don't
to
know
see?
how they voted. I don't know. I never spoke to them actually about it, and I purposely, and I told you, normally it would be just the opposite. I'd review every page. I purposely didn't even want to see it, because when somebody...
Then how do you know you agreed with... I don't know.
Like you asked me a question about Project 2025, I can honestly say I've never seen it. I have nothing to do with it. I didn't...
Then how do you know which things you agree with or not?
read it, but I did hear some things in there that I would totally disagree with. And I said to the people that were really the people behind it, you know who those people are? I said, you really had no right doing this to me, because they used it as a soundbite, the Democrats. And I don't know, it couldn't have been too effective because they got slaughtered, but they did use it as a soundbite.
But to people who see, oh, he's bringing in all of these people from Project 2025, he must know what it is.
Well,
you know
what? I don't know what it is, no. I don't know what it is.
You still don't know
what
it is?
But I heard
All these
certain
people
things
are
that I
coming
didn't
in from
like. And by the way, I heard certain things that are phenomenal. Okay?
Like what?
Whoa! Like what? Oh my God, she asked him a particular question, 42 minutes in. What's he gonna say? Is he gonna give an actual specific, or is he just gonna say, like fixing housing? Or is he just gonna say like a broad thing? Let's hear.
And by the way,
God.
I heard certain things that are phenomenal. Okay?
Like what?
Like law and order. We want law and order.
Okay.
Oh. Project 2025 is about law and order, says the convicted felon Donald Trump. Oh.
Okay? Little things like, let's put prisoners in jail.
Let's put prisoners in jail. The big Project 2025 plan.
Let's not let people come out and raid every drugstore in Manhattan so that we have to put glass up and every store is going out of business.
Let me ask you about something you've referenced a couple of times in this interview. I asked you last time we sat down for an interview if you were going to pardon yourself. You said no. But now that President Biden has pardoned his son, Hunter,
I love that she set him up like that, right? Because that should just give you the perfect excuse to do it, right?
Are you reconsidering? Might you pardon yourself?
I didn't do anything wrong. I was given the option. And the lawyers told me, a very specific lawyer, I don't have to go into who, but very high.
Wait, what could he even pardon himself over? Hold on, wait, what is this question even? Wait, because these are New York State charges. What the fuck could he even pardon himself over? Or, yeah, I mean, you could pardon yourself to prevent your, like, I guess, like, future investigation, but I wonder if he even knows that the president can't, he must know that the president can't pardon state charges, because I'm sure he tried or he wanted to.
I didn't do anything wrong. I was given the option. And the lawyers told me, a very specific lawyer, I don't have to go into who, but very high up in the administration said, sir, if you pardon yourself, you're going to look guilty, and you did nothing wrong. Oh, I had that option. I could have saved myself a lot of legal fees, but it turned out that I was right. Look at what's gone on. Everything's being dropped. I still have a Fani Willis, a total hoax. That's a total hoax. It's all being dropped. It's all been discredited. It's been dropped. There are those people that say, and this would be the first time in history, that all of those fake indictments, they were going after a political opponent. There are those that say that I actually did better in the election because of it. Now, that would be a first. I think you would agree, because normally that's like you go back to the microphones, you say, I'm leaving right now, I will leave office, I'm going back to my family, and I will fight for my name. Well, I had to fight for my name in public because I didn't leave office. But no, I didn't want to pardon, and I didn't want to pardon myself. I had the option to pardon myself.
And you don't want one now? You're not going to pardon yourself now?
What do I need one for? First of all, I've won almost all of the cases.
What if President
and the ones
Biden...
that I didn't win are on resuscitation.
What if President Biden offered you a pardon? Would you accept it?
I've never even thought about it. I don't think he'll do it. Look, if he did, He's the one that started this whole thing. He got the Justice Department to go after me. And the state cases are all being run by the Justice Department, which is illegal. They had their people from the Justice Department
This
work.
is the lying talking point. Was it Loretta? There was somebody that left the DOJ, and I think they worked with Alvin Bragg. And so the meme is that the Justice Department is directing the Alvin Bragg investigation. Which, why, if they're going to do blatantly illegal shit like that, why wouldn't they just, like, it's just stupid. This conspiracy doesn't even. It's not even a good. It wouldn't even be a good video game plot. It's just stupid.
For Alvin Bragg, in order to get something going, they worked for Letitia James in the state. He had his people go from the federal government and take lesser jobs in the state in order to get Donald
And you know he denies he had anything.
None of this. It shouldn't be he denies it. What a stupid framing. It should be, there's no evidence for any of this.
Thing to do with it.
No,
and
you
there's
can't
no,
deny it. You know why?
Yeah.
Because they were there. Wait a minute. Wait. You have a tendency to sort of like slough over things. You just...
It's a joke, right? They're all laughing backstage. They must be laughing, right? You have a tendency to just slough over. Yeah, for you. Yeah, she is doing that. To you. To you.
Made a statement. His person, the top, maybe the third or second or third person, left the federal government, the DOJ, and went to work for Letitia James.
What was their position? DOJ person goes to work for New York State. What was the position of the person even? Who was it? Manhattan, DA hires ex-DOJ official. Matthew Colangelo. Colangelo? What was his position? He held the title of Chief Counsel for Federal Initiatives. And then he began serving as the Acting Associate Attorney General. Okay. Associate Attorney General is the third position under the Deputy Attorney General, which is under the Attorney General. Okay. But I wonder for how long he was even the acting AG. Acting meaning he hasn't been confirmed by the Senate. He's just there as a temporary position.
And then, after they got that one started, went to work for the DA.
Let me ask you about some of this new reporting. NBC News is reporting that President Biden is considering giving preemptive pardons to the likes of Liz Cheney, Adam Schiff, and Anthony Fauci. If President Biden doesn't issue those pardons, do you think they are going to wish that he had? Are they going to be pursued?
I can tell you this about Cheney, and she's a so-called Republican.
Remember, any Republican that's not loyal to Trump is enemy number one, so he hates these people.
I think she hurt the Democrats terribly. When I saw that Kamala put Cheney out on the campaign trail, I said, that's the end of Kamala. I really did. I thought it was a terrible move, especially if you're a Democrat. But Cheney did something that's inexcusable, along with Thompson and the people on the Unselect Committee, the political thugs.
The Unselect Committee.
And, creeps. So the Unselect Committee went through a year and a half of testimony. Wait. They deleted and destroyed all evidence that they found.
Oh, he's going to bring up the rumor about the J6 Commission had all sorts of evidence that was exculpatory to Donald Trump, but they got rid of it. They deleted it. And there was all this exculpatory evidence that would have shown that it was either a Fed surrection or something else. But it was, this is the rumor he's about to bring up. You
know why? Because Nancy Pelosi was guilty. Nancy Pelosi turned down 10,000 troops. You wouldn't have had a J6.
It wasn't even Nancy Pelosi's job. He's not even citing the conspiracy theory, right? It's supposed to be that Mayor Bowser turned down the 10,000 troops, not Pelosi.
Because other people were guilty. The people that said that I attacked 2 Secret Service agents in a car. I grabbed one around the neck. I was then rebuffed, and I grabbed the other one. These are 2 of the toughest men anywhere on the planet. They happen to be slightly younger than me, maybe, just a little bit. Let me just tell you. They testified. They said it was total. And all of this stuff came out. People lied so badly. Now, listen, this was a committee, a big deal. They lied. And what did they do? They deleted and destroyed a whole year and a half worth of testimony. Do you know that I think those people committed a major crime.
Sir?
And Cheney was behind it.
Well,
and so was Benny Thompson and everybody on that committee. For what they did, honestly, they should go to jail.
So you think Liz Cheney should go to jail?
For what they did.
Everyone on the committee, you think
I think
should
everybody
go to jail.
anybody that voted in favor.
Are you going to direct your FBI director and your attorney general to send them to jail?
No, not at all. I think that they'll have to look at that, but I'm going to focus on drill, baby, drill.
When you say that,
On
it carries
strengthening the
weight, though. You've tapped these people to lead the Justice Department and FBI.
They can do whatever they want.
Okay.
Biden can give him a pardon if he wants to, and maybe he should. Just remember, unselect committee, a year and a half of sworn testimony, and after getting all of the testimony, they deleted it, and they destroyed almost everything. There's nothing left. It's unprecedented.
And they deny
If you
doing
do that in a civil case, you go to jail.
You know they deny doing that, and officials say that the order never came in for the National Guard.
Statement.
On January 6th, let me ask you this about January 6th. I think
Benny
you're going to want to
Thompson
answer
wrote
this.
in a statement that he has destroyed all evidence.
Let me ask you this about
It's
January
amazing.
6th.
I wish you could be you have such potential. If you could be just non-biased, you hurt yourself so badly. I'm telling you.
Like, this is a joke, right? This is just a joke. Like, he's upset about this interview, and this is like one of the most softball, pathetic fuck interviews. I have more respect for Assad, who at least stayed in his country until the fucking shit until they were at his fucking door in Damascus. I have more respect for Assad than this fucking loser. What an unbelievably weak man that we've seen fit to give 2 shots at the American presidency. Unfucking believable. What a fucking loser, dude. It's unreal.
Non-biased. You hurt yourself so badly. I'm telling you, they deleted and destroyed all the evidence. Everyone knows it. And you slough it off like it doesn't mean anything.
No, I'm just saying they deny it. That's all I'm saying.
Kristen, if I did it, you would be standing up in that chair shouting at me. And you know what I'd do? I'd say, you got me. They have done something so illegal. They have a committee sworn to, and because it was so bad, the only reason they did it is because the testimony turned out to be in favor of me. Like Secret Service testified and disputed everything. It made them into a bunch of liars. Not Secret Service, it made the people. They got rid of it because it made Nancy Pelosi, the mayor of D.C., so many people look like criminals. And I will tell you, it's illegal for them to delete and to destroy that evidence.
Let me ask you about January 6th in a different capacity, okay? I think you're going to want to answer this question. You promised to pardon those who attacked the Capitol on January 6th. Are you still vowing to follow through with that promise?
We're looking at it right now, most likely, yeah.
Well,
those people have suffered long and hard, and there may be some exceptions to it. I have to look. But, if somebody was radical, crazy, there might be some people from Antifa there. I don't know, because those people seem to be in good shape. Whatever happened to Scaffold Man? You know who Scaffold Man was? He stood on a scaffold telling everybody to go and nothing happened to him. Whatever happened to Ray Epps? Now, I don't know anything about Ray Epps, but it was sort of strange the way he was talking. Where is he? What happened to him? Because the people that did very little, they arrested an old woman because I don't think she did anything. They don't even know what she did. These people have suffered.
You can just read the charging document, but he doesn't, but no one cares about anything.
Their lives have been destroyed. And yet in Portland, where they burn down half the city, they burn it down all the time. It's like a, routine occurrence. They don't do anything. They attack the courthouse, federal courthouse. They always say federal building. Okay. They destroyed the beautiful limestone exterior of the courthouse in Portland. They killed people in Portland. Seattle, people got killed in Seattle. They took over a big chunk of the city. They took it over. They took the city away. Minneapolis, It looked like when they said this is a friendly protest, and yet over the poor slobs from CNN, his shoulder, the entire city was burning down. It looked like World War II. Nothing happened. But wait, nothing happened. They took over the police statement. They took over the police station in Minneapolis. They burned it down. Nothing happened to anybody. And yet these people have been in jail, and I hear the jail is a hellhole. They've done reports, and you would say that's true. They've done reports. This is the most disgusting, filthy place. These people are living in hell. And I think it's very unfair. Most likely I'll do it very quickly.
Very quickly. Okay, but some of them, 169 of them, have pleaded guilty to assaulting police officers.
Because they had no choice.
900 pleaded guilty to other crimes. They're also going to be eligible for a pardon from you?
Listen, it's a very tough system. Do you know almost nobody... I saw people that didn't even go into the building and they were convicted. And you had the police saying, come on in, come on in. I mean, you know, the police are saying, come on in, everybody, come on in. They had people, you know, you have a lot of cameras. They don't want to release the tapes. They don't want to release the tapes.
So, but you're going to consider pardoning even those who pleaded guilty to crimes, including assaulting police officers?
Well, sometimes they say, here's your choice.
You're not ruling it out.
Look, I know the system. The system's a very corrupt system. They say to a guy, you're going to go to jail for 2 years or for 30 years. And these guys are looking, their whole lives have been destroyed. For 2 years, they've been destroyed. But the system is a very nasty system.
Okay. Let's
I'm going to look at everything. We're going to look at individual cases,
Okay.
But I'm going to be acting very quickly.
Within your first 100 days, first day?
First day.
First day.
Yeah, I'm looking first day.
The tapes released. Everything is available to investigate. He's just lying. Basically, this entire interview is just one lie after another. Or like something that's so reductively simplistic it's not even wrong because it's not even, there's not even like a claim being made.
These pardons.
These people have been there, how long is it, 3 or 4 years?
Okay.
You know, by the way, they've been in there for years. And they're in a filthy, disgusting place that shouldn't even be allowed to be open.
Let's talk about your cabinet picks. I know we started off talking about Pete Hegseth, but I just want to return to that very quickly. Have you gotten assurances from senators that he's going to be confirmed? Do you think he can make it?
No, I think you will, yeah. I've had a lot of senators call me up saying he's fantastic.
You don't drink yourself.
No.
You've talked about how devastating drinking can be.
Yeah.
How concerned are you that the person who you picked for this top job at the Defense Department, at least according to those who've worked with him, has struggled with drinking?
But I've spoken to people that know him very well, and they say he does not have a drinking problem. Okay. And, you know, he had a lot of knives out for him. A lot of people don't want to see the military made better.
Let me ask you about former Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard. You picked her to be the Director of National Intelligence.
Right.
In 2017, she had 2 secret meetings with Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad. Do you have questions or concerns about those meetings?
No. And he's got bigger problems right now.
Well, do you think it makes it hard for her?
His country is collapsing.
Yeah. I mean, do you think it compromises her ability to handle that?
I met with Putin. I met with President Xi of China. I met with Kim Jong-un twice. Does that mean that I can't be president?
Well, when you were president, they weren't secret meetings.
Look, people meet. All these people meet. I mean, I see some of the most dishonest people. I'll tell you, the 51 agents that said that the laptop wasn't from Hunter. It was
Twitter
from
files.
Russia.
Oh, my God.
What about them? Tell me about them. Do you think they did something wrong? Do you think they were all so stupid that they thought that the laptop from hell?
So you have confidence in Tulsi Gabbard?
I do. So does I mean, she's a very respected person.
Let me ask you about RFK Jr. He has obviously talked about his skepticism of vaccines. He's expressed opposition to childhood vaccines. Do you want to see childhood vaccines eliminated?
I just don't know why we have so many of them.
If they're dangerous for the children. Look.
So possibly?
When you look at some of the problems, when you look at what's going on with
mental health,
disease and sickness in our country, something's wrong.
Are you talking about autism?
Well, if you take a look at autism, you go back 25 years, autism was almost non-existent. It was, 1 out of 100,000. And now it's close to 1 out of 100.
Well,
I mean, what's happening? If they can find it. Now, I did something the other night that was a little unusual. At Mar-a-Lago, I called the drug companies, the top drug companies, and I called RFK Jr. and Dr. Oz and some of his people. And I said, let's all get together and let's figure out where we're going. Because we're going to do a lot of things. Number one, we're going to reduce prices because the middleman makes more money than the drug companies, in all fairness to the drug companies. There's a middleman that nobody even knows who they are. And you look at our drug prices, they're much higher than...
Is he talking about insurance companies, or who is the middleman that he's talking about here?
The prices for the same medicine, for the same stuff. So we met, and we met for a long time, and we talked about pricing, and we talked about vaccines, in terms of what happens. We talked about pesticides. We talked about everything.
Is it the deep state?
And I think a lot of good things are going to come from him. And
we're just not going to say, we're not going to touch on that? Okay.
He's not going to upset any system. He's not going to upset this. He's not looking to, to reinvent the wheel totally. But when you look at the numbers, we really don't have a very healthy country.
Well, sir, going back 25 years, studies show that there is no link between vaccines and autism. And yet it sounds like you are open to the possibility of him looking
I'm
at
open to
getting
anything.
rid of them?
I think somebody has to find out. If you go back 25 years ago, you had very little autism. Now you have it. I mean,
well, they say because they're better at identifying it.
And you're like, well, I've never even considered the most basic objection.
1 in 100,000, and now it's 1 in 100.
Just repeat it, the slogan. Just repeat the shit and keep on rolling.
That's a pretty bad number.
Childhood vaccines.
I mean, something is going on. I don't know if it's vaccines. Maybe it's chlorine.
Is the fluoride in the water decreasing IQ in children, or complete bullshit, or complete bullshit? At certain concentrations, it could, but there's no proof that this is happening.
In the water, right? People are looking at...
Oh, did he just say chlorine instead of fluoride? Did he just say chlorine?
I don't know if it's vaccines. Maybe it's chlorine in the water, right? People are looking at a lot of different things.
Childhood vaccines...
I want them to look at everything.
Everything. So childhood vaccines have prevented about 4 million deaths around the world every year.
I think that's great.
Isn't that...
I'm all for it. I think it's great. Hey, look, I'm not against vaccines. The polio vaccine is the greatest thing. If somebody told me get rid of the polio vaccine, they're going to have to work real hard to convince me. I think certain vaccines are incredible. But maybe some aren't.
Which ones?
If they aren't, we have to find out. But when you talk about autism, because it was brought up, and you look at the amount we have today versus 20 or 25 years ago, it's pretty scary.
Well, again, scientists say that's because they've gotten better at identifying it, and there's no link in studies.
But the drug companies are going to be working with RFK Jr., and he's been an interesting guy to me. I've watched him for 25 years, and he's been an interesting guy.
Let's talk about Elon Musk, another interesting person.
He's very interesting.
Last month, one of your allies said, quote, he's behaving as if he's a co-president. Will you favor Elon Musk over other leaders of competitors?
Good question. The only hope is to pit Elon against Donald Trump and hope that both of their egos cause them both to flame out.
Competitor companies like Jeff Bezos, Mary Barra.
No, Jeff Bezos called me. We're having dinner. As you know, Mark Zuckerberg came in. We had a really nice dinner. He asked to have dinner. I had dinner with him. I'm having dinner with everybody. People like me now. It's something going on that people. I said, would you have come to dinner with me if I lost? I think the answer is no. I said nicely, kiddingly, of course, because I don't want to sound foolish. But I say jokingly, would you have been here at dinner if I lost? And the answer was probably not.
Sounds like he's very reluctant to give a full approval on RFK's policies. To be fair, he doesn't seem to approve of anything completely because he doesn't know anything. That's why he's not going to approve he's not going to commit to any position on any of this because he literally doesn't know anything. This is like the vassal, it would be the vessel president. He's just here to, whatever the people around him say is basically what he's going to do. He has no spine. He has no character. He has no backbone. He has no nothing on any of these things. He doesn't have an idea in his head. He doesn't have a thought in his mind about how he feels about any of these things. It's all just like a popularity contest for him. He's just looking at TV ratings and reblogs.
Look, I'm getting called by everybody. It's very interesting. It's different than the first. When I won the first time, I wasn't nearly as popular as this. And one thing that's very important in terms of the election, I love that I won the popular vote, and by a lot. If I didn't,
1.6%.
because they would go with the other one. They say, while he didn't win the popular vote, he won a lot of. I won a lot of the Electoral College, but
that's good. So he's dropped the claim that the 2016 election was rigged. That's good. Okay.
But they would always preface it by saying, now they say he won the popular vote and he won the Electoral College and he won all 7 swing states. That was a great election.
Very quickly, because we're going to talk about the election coming up, but you've tapped Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy, to head up this Department of Government Efficiency.
Correct.
Which proposes cuts to the federal government. I think a lot of people hear that and they get concerned about Medicare and Social Security and
Not
Medicaid.
going to have anything to do.
And defense spending.
We're talking
you
about
won't touch
theft,
Medicare, Social Security.
Abuse, fraud.
Okay.
No, I said to people, we're not touching Social Security, other than we make it more efficient, but the people are going to get what they're getting.
Okay, so the entitlements
And
off the table.
we're not raising ages or any of that stuff.
Okay,
No,
off the table.
I won't do it.
Okay. Let's turn to foreign policy. Should Ukraine prepare for...
God, this is such a fun... you just get to ramble about anything, no pushback, just the most bullshit answers. Trump was definitely... This guy was an A+ English student. He got all A's on any essay test because he just... No, well, it depends on his teachers. It's just such... Oh, this is so cringe.
For less aid from the United States after you're sworn into
Possibly,
office?
yeah, probably. Sure.
You've said you can end the war in
We're in
24
for 350 billion, and Europe is in for 100 billion. Why isn't Europe in for the same as us? The one thing that should happen is that Europe should come in they should equalize. And, Biden, all he had to do, like I did with NATO, I said, you got to pay your bills. They weren't paying their bills. And as you know, the Secretary General said, President Trump got $600 billion, 640 to be exact. And I used to use the 400 billion number. He corrected me. He said, no, you actually got $641 billion put in. Because I said, you have to pay your bills. We were paying for NATO. And you know why I got the money? Because I asked for it. It wasn't that complicated. Europe is in for a fraction. And war with Russia is more important for Europe than it is for us. It's important for everybody, but it's more important for Europe than it is for us.
And you've said
we have a little thing called an ocean in between us.
You said...
We have 2 of them, believe it or not.
You can end the war in 24 hours. You've even said you want to try to end it before you're sworn into office.
I'm trying to end it
You're
if I
actively
can.
trying to?
I am.
Have you talked to President Putin?
No, I have not.
You haven't talked to President Putin
No, I have
since
not.
you've been
You
elected?
mean, no, well, I don't want to say that, but I haven't spoken to him recently.
So you've spoken to President Putin since you've been elected?
I don't want to say that. I don't want to say anything about that because
it's illegal.
I don't want to do anything that could impede the negotiation.
But you
I want to
have
stop
talked
it.
about
Let me
the
tell you
other
what I
world
have talked
leaders.
about. Let me
Okay.
tell you. There are people being killed in that war at levels that nobody's ever seen before. You have to go back to the Second World War, and even that, if you take a look at, and you know what it is? It's the soldiers largely. The cities have been emptied out and demolished. The country has been demolished. If I won that election, which you know how I feel about it, I won't get into it because we don't need to start that argument. I think it's an easy argument. It was really proven even more conclusively by the win that I had on this one.
Mm-hmm.
But you did go to court, sir.
Well, that's your opinion,
Yeah,
but I
okay.
disagree with it. Had I kept control, number one, Israel wouldn't have happened. Number two, Ukraine would have never happened. It would have never happened, Ukraine, Russia. But the number of people that are being killed, soldiers.
How would he have prevented October 7th? And what you didn't do anything about Ukraine, Russia when you were in office.
Young, beautiful soldiers. Hundreds of thousands of people are being killed. And it's very interesting. It's level. Totally level, the battlefields, totally level. You know what's happening? Yeah. The only thing that stops a bullet, you know what it is a body, a human body. And the people that are being killed, hundreds of thousands on both sides. Russia's lost probably 500,000. Ukraine's lost higher than they say, probably 400,000. You're talking about hundreds of thousands of bodies laying all over fields. It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen, and it should have never been allowed to happen. Biden should have been able to stop it.
Sir, will the United States stay in NATO while you're in office?
In where?
NATO. Do you commit that the United States will remain a member of NATO while you're in office?
Again, they have to pay their bills. If they pay their bills, absolutely.
But not if they don't pay their bills.
But NATO's taking advantage of us.
I wonder what he thinks that means. Does he think that there's just like a paycheck that they send to the United States to like a membership fee? I wonder what he...
Because we were look, two things. Number one, they take advantage of us on trade, meaning the European nations, okay, like terrible. They don't take our cars, they don't take our food product, they don't take anything. It's a disgrace. And on top of that, we defend them. So it's a double whammy. So let me just tell you, I was able to get hundreds of billions of dollars put into NATO just by a tough attitude. I said to the countries, I'm not going to protect you unless you pay. And they started paying. And that amounted to more than $600 billion. That's a big thing. Otherwise, they wouldn't even be fighting. They wouldn't have any money to fight. If they're paying their bills, and if I think they're doing if they're treating us fairly, the answer is absolutely, I'd stay with NATO.
But if not, you would consider the possibility of
absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Let's turn to the Middle East now, sir. There are still American hostages being held in Gaza.
Yeah.
You said this week that if the hostages aren't released before Inauguration Day, quote, there will be all hell to pay.
Correct.
What exactly did you mean? And do you still
think
that the hostages are alive?
I'm not a big believer in the fact that there are too many of them living, sadly, because I've seen the way they've been treated. I talk about the young girl that was pulled by her hair violently and thrown into the back of a car like she was a sack of potatoes. And I said, you know, that's hatred. And then I said, how did that young girl do? Beautiful young girl just dragged by her hair. You remember, blood pouring all over her body. You can imagine the parents thrown into the back of a car by some horrible guy. And I said, how is she? She's dead. She died, sir. I don't think you have as many. I mean, I hate to say it. I think you have far fewer hostages than people think.
Really?
That's what I think. It's only my opinion, but okay. I've been right.
But we didn't answer that. What are you going to do? We didn't answer the question at all, but okay.
Just about everything.
Are you going to pressure Prime Minister Netanyahu, with whom you have a very good relationship, to end the war in Gaza?
Yeah.
Correct.
Sure.
And have you already started that process?
I want him to end it, but you got to have a victory. People forget about October 7th. That was as violent. And you know what's happening? I noticed that a lot of people are saying, oh, it never really happened. That's like the Holocaust. You know, you have Holocaust deniers. Now you have October 7th deniers, and it just happened. No, October 7th happened. And I've seen the pictures. What happened is horrible.
If China invades Taiwan on your watch, are you committed to defending Taiwan?
I never say.
Still won't say?
I never say, because I have to negotiate things, right?
Can you just say if you'll defend it? I'm not saying if the U.S. military.
I'd prefer that they don't do it. I have a very good relationship with President Xi. We have been communicating with each other.
Since you were elected?
Yes.
And you sent that message?
Since like 3 days ago. Yes, we communicate.
Just as a quick thing, I don't even know, this is a waste of time saying. You have to be public about your positions on these things. Everything can't be a fucking mystery, because everything can't be up to fucking negotiations, because other countries, and more importantly, other citizens in other countries need to have some idea of what to expect, right? If you're voting for some leader in a country, or you want to support some leader in a country, and their position is whether or not they support the United States or whether or not they'd look more favorably to another partner, and then you look to the U.S. president and you go, okay, well, what does the U.S. want to do? And the president's saying, I'm not going to tell you anything. I'm not going to say anything. I have no commitment. And it's like, okay, well, fuck us then. Fuck you. We're not going to say, like, why the fuck would we
communicate?
And you sent that message to him, don't invade Taiwan?
We didn't talk about that. Okay. We talked about other things. But I have a very good relationship, and I hope he doesn't do it.
This week, a federal court upheld a law that could result in TikTok being banned. You said you're going to rescue TikTok when you get into office. Are you going to take steps to protect it?
Yeah, and as you know, I use TikTok very successfully in my campaign. I have a man named TikTok Jack. He was very effective, obviously, because I won youth by 30%. All Republicans lose youth. I don't know why. Maybe it's changing. And last time we were down 30% with youth. This time we're up 35% with youth. And I use TikTok, so I can't really, I can't totally hate it. It was very effective. But I will say this, if you do that, something else is going to come along and take its place. And maybe that's not fair. What they're doing, and really what the judge actually said was that you can't have Chinese companies. In other words, they have the right to ban it if you can prove that the Chinese companies own it. That's what the judge actually said.
So are you going to try to protect TikTok, just very quick, once you're in office?
I'm going to try and make it so that other companies don't become an even bigger monopoly.
Okay.
Because that's what happens.
We're winding down, and I know you have a plane to catch.
I do.
This is your first interview since you won the election.
Congratulations.
Yes,
I hope
congratulations to you.
I hope you do well with it.
Yes.
Glad you agreed to do such a softball interview so you could have the first one.
And, sir, I don't have to tell you this because you've talked about it. It comes at a time when the country is deeply divided. And now you're going to be leading this country for the next 4 years. For the sake of unifying this country, will you concede the 2020 election and turn the page on that chapter?
No.
Good one.
The 2020 election and turn the page on that chapter.
No. Absolutely
Why would
not.
I do that? But let me just tell you, when
won't
you
ever
say the
concede.
country is deeply divided, I'm not the president. Joe Biden's the president.
But you're going to be the president.
No. I'm not the president. So when you say it's deeply divided, I agree. But Biden's the president, I'm not. And he has been a divider. And you know where he divided it more than anything else, and it probably backfired on him, I think definitely, is weaponization. When he weaponized the Justice Department and he went after his political opponent, me. He went after his political opponent violently because he knew he couldn't beat him. And I think it really was a bad thing. And it really divided our country.
Sir, Democrats have control of the White House now. They didn't in 2020. If they are going around stealing elections, why
When you
didn't
say
they do it
Democrats
this
have
time?
control now?
Of the White House.
Yeah.
So why didn't they steal this election? Since they have more power now.
Because I think it was too big to rig.
Like, okay. It's just such a meme answer, dude. It's a slogan for everything. Like, I'm just curious what the total votes were. I think there were more votes in 2020 than there were in 2024. So how was this one too big to rig? What does that even mean? Oh. Okay.
So you won't.
Too big to rig.
To the people who say that you're now directing your Justice Department to investigate 2020 and they want to move on.
I have very capable. I think Pam is going to be great.
Somebody coached him on these talking points at least to get away from that. Anytime they say you're saying anything to the Justice Department, you're directing, always say no. Never, ever answer that in the affirmative.
Sources.
By the way,
is that what you want them to do?
Just so you know, I have the right to do that, but I'm not interested in that.
Oh, you're not. You're not going to do that.
I'm not interested. I have
Okay.
the absolute right. I'm the chief law enforcement officer. You do know that. I'm the
Unitary executive theory. He doesn't know what that is. But that's what he's saying right now. The president technically has the ability to do whatever he wants through all of his departments, and nobody should be able to resist him.
president. But I'm not interested in that. You know what I'm interested in? Drilling and getting prices down and stopping people from pouring into our border that come from prisons and mental institutions.
Last two questions here. One of the things that made this campaign unprecedented and extraordinary were the horrific attempts against your life. 2 assassination attempts.
Yeah.
Wow.
Do you feel safe going into the White House
I do.
for the next 4 years? Why?
I have confidence in Secret Service. I know the people. I got to know a lot of them, and I have confidence. It was a bad moment. Something shouldn't have happened. But I have a lot of confidence, and they've really stepped it up. They were restricted from giving the... Look, I do a rally, and you were at many of them, and I'd have 50,000 people. Joe would have a rally, and he'd have 30 people. And he had more Secret Service than me. My Secret Service was always asking for more manpower/women power. They were asking for more and more and more, and they couldn't get it. I'm not blaming them, really, because they were always fighting for more people, and they wouldn't get... Now, boy, do we have it.
I know it was hard on your entire family. What can people expect from the First Lady in this second administration? What role will she play? She obviously had her Be Best campaign.
She's very liked, loved, and she's very respected. And she's a very solid person. And she devotes a lot of time to helping children. You know what she does. And she's got her Be Best deal that is incredible what she's done. The one thing I say, whether it's First Lady or my children did such a good job. and they were treated very badly by the press and others. Ivanka was unbelievable what she did, and she all she wanted to do is one thing: get people jobs. She could have been the UN secretary. I said to her, she would have been unbelievable. She's got the whole package for that, including right up there. She's as smart as they. She didn't want. She said, "Daddy, I want to work on getting people jobs." You know, she'd go to Walmart. She could have been the UN secretary. I said to her, she would have been unbelievable. She's got the whole package for that.
Wait, did I miss it? Is he still talking about his wife, or is he talking about one of his daughters now? Wait, did we change here? Did I miss this?
She did, and she all she wanted to do is one thing: get people jobs. She could have been the UN secretary.
His daughter, oh, okay.
Treated very badly by the press, and my children did such a good job. Okay. Could have been the UN secretary for that, including right up there. She's as smart as they. She didn't want. She said, "Daddy, I want to work on getting people jobs." You know, she'd go to Walmart. She'd go to X such a. She produced millions of jobs for people, not glamorous. What? Most people didn't know she did it, and she was always being excoriated. And I said to my kids,
"What did she do to get people millions of jobs?"
Don't come in.
All right.
It's just
you said to them, "Don't."
I said to them, "Yeah."
But will you miss having them there? Will it feel different? They were your top advisors.
I'll tell you what, I'll miss them, and they're really competent. But I say, just go have fun, do your business, do whatever you want to do, but don't come in. Because no matter what they did such a great job. Although I have to say, Lara did a phenomenal job as the head of the Republican National Committee, along with Michael.
What will the First Lady's role be, do you think? Will she continue her Be Best campaign?
She's a very elegant First Lady.
Do whatever she wants.
She was a very successful woman before that, in the modeling and other things, but in the modeling, very successful. The press, I can't say treated her unfairly. You know why? Because she's very popular. You would think if the press was unfair, like to me, the press was obviously unfair to me. The press, no president has ever gotten treated by the press like I was. And yet I got more votes than any Republican candidate in history, by far. It's not even close. So you say, what's that all about? The press has to straighten itself out because honestly, it's lost all credibility. When that can happen, based on the press, I should have gotten no votes, none. And yet I got the highest number ever. And the reason is because I'm able to go on a show, even like yours, even though you're very hostile, I'm able to go on a show like yours. No, you are.
Well, hopefully you thought it was a fair interview. We covered a lot of policy ground.
It's fair only in that you allowed me to say what I say. But, you know, the answers, the questions are, you know, pretty nasty. But look, because I've seen you interview other people like Biden. And
I've never interviewed President Biden. Actually.
When I say you, I'm talking metaphorically.
Okay.
I've seen George Stephanopoulos interview Biden, and he's a tough interviewer. It's the softest interview. I've seen CNN interview him. They give these soft, you know, what's your favorite ice cream? It's a whole different deal. I don't understand why. You know, you would think the press would like to see strong borders, great education, a powerful military, so we have a country left, and all these different things. And somehow they don't want to see that.
Let me ask you, hopefully you think this interview was fair. We spent a lot of time talking about your policy and your second administration. I want to ask you, sir, one final question. What do you want to say to Americans who didn't support you in this campaign?
It's actually like so insane, dude.
I'm going to treat you every bit as well as I have treated the greatest MAGA supporters. There's never been anything like MAGA in the history of this country. These people are so dedicated to making America great again. It's very simple. And I'm going to treat them just the same as I treat MAGA. We're going to treat everybody good. We want success for our country. We want safety for our country. You know, our country's under threat, as you know. We have a tremendous threat militarily because of the power of weapons and weaponry. It's a tremendous threat. Nobody talks about it, but it's a tremendous threat. I want to treat everybody the same. I want to treat them well. And at the end of this 4 years, and I have a big head start because I was there for 4 years fairly recently. A lot of bad things were done during the 4 years that I wasn't there, and mostly in what they've done in terms of our reputation overseas. Our reputation is so bad, so shot. I got to bring it back, and I also have to bring back civilization to our country. Our country is a crime pot. And we have to get rid of crime. We have so many things to do. We have to do the prices. We have to do all of that. But we have to get the criminals out of our country. We have to bring down crime. People have to be able to walk across the street and buy a loaf of bread without being shot. And that's going to happen. But what I say to them is, I love you, and we're going to all work together, and we're going to bring it together. And you know what's going to bring it together? Success. I saw that just prior to COVID coming in, I had polls that were the highest anyone. McLaughlin and Fabrizio said, George Washington and Abraham Lincoln, if they came back from the dead and they ran as president and vice president, couldn't beat you, sir. We were doing so well. And I was getting along with the left. Let's call it the left. Will be nice. Okay, we're just going to call it. But I was getting along with people that you would consider liberal or
RFK, Tulsi Gabbard, and then like the really friendly centrist people like the Joe Rogans.
Progressive, as they like to say, at levels that I never thought was possible. And you know what it was? Success. Success was bringing the country together, and that's what I want to do.
We'll leave it there unless you'd like to say anything more.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the honor
Very much.
of
Great
this
honor.
first interview.
Thank you.
Thank you.